right, welcome back to the party, everybody. I'm your host, Lech, aka the Indian Jesus, here to resurrect the second coming of common sense. How's everybody doing tonight? Everybody hit that like and subscribe and let's party. Big shout out to the replay gang. Thank you so much for coming back to watch this, even though you missed the live party, guys. That is the best part. So make sure you are here every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern, and sometimes whenever I feel like it. So hit that subscribe, ring the bell, and you will never miss an Indian Jesus live party ever again. Let's also say thank you to my6shirt.com. Whatever your persuasion, they've got something for you. And of course, it is the only place to get your very own The Indian Jesus official merch. Only at my6shirt.com. All right. Welcome to the party. I have got a great show for you guys tonight. I am so excited. I don't even really need to tee it up. Tom Brady is coming out. Not coming out like that. Just coming, just the Patriot. If you're not a football fan, the Patriots culture has always been to keep cards close to the chest. From the coaches all the way down, they in interviews and stuff, we don't know. And so Tom Brady has been a household name for like the last decade. And if you haven't read his book, which I have not, then you probably don't know that much about him. And so I'm so excited to share this with you guys. I did watch a little bit of it, but I wanted to keep it fresh for you guys. So as always, if you cannot hear the video, please do let me know.
I watch sports today. I see these guys on the range. Yeah. They're all buddies and their caddies are friends. And that's not the killer instinct. I always said we play for the name on the front of our jersey, was it Patriots or the Bucks, and I play for the name on the back of the jersey, which is my family and the people that encourage me.
I think you've chosen your enemies wisely.
Man, I'm gonna play 10 more years. It takes so many people to get to where we get in our life. I learned about work ethic. I learned about resilience. I learned about gaining the trust and the respect of my teammates and coaches to name me captain. Just like in your business. Every year is different. Fame didn't motivate me. I didn't know about any of it.
I mean, how are you not hyped by this? This is going to be amazing. That is an entrance. Shout out to Melted Mind Media, also in the building. Welcome to the party, brother. Good to see ya.
So first of all, I can't wait for you to watch this interview with Tom Brady. By the way, from the moment he walked in, he was in charge, comfortable, respectful, loose, and you'll sense it the moment you watch it. He walked in, Dylan's like, "Hey, Tom, I want to throw the ball with you." He's like, "Well, then let's go." They go to the back of the hotel, but there's a wide open place at the Diplomat, and they start throwing the ball. And
that's epic. I mean, just to play catch with the greatest football player of all time, perhaps the greatest athlete of all time. That's just crazy.
And then he's running routes with Dylan, and then he's running routes with my oldest son, Patrick. And then he says, "So, Dad, you going to run or what?" Like he's almost like pushing you, challenging you. You could feel his leadership from the second he got there. And then when he hits the stage, super comfortable, super loose. I even asked him, "Why are you so comfortable and loose right now? Like, what caused you to be this way?" You'll sense that. And then there was a couple things we talked about. I asked him about.
All right, let's just get into it. I don't want to hear from you. I want to hear from the man.
I like this, maybe coaching somebody like this. And, as a guy that's a fan of the sport, I've never played organized sports, okay? I didn't play in high school. I didn't do any of that stuff, but I'm a fan. I'm coming purely from a fan.
Same here. I played lacrosse, like rec lacrosse when I was in middle school, but obviously I'm tiny and I was really good at defense for my size. But by the time you get to high school, I mean, you're 5'4", you're not playing defense for anything. So, I mean, I'm right there as somebody who, not a huge football fan so much anymore. But I mean, how can you deny Tom Brady? Even as, coming from a Jets fan who that man has caused so much pain, but yet we still have to respect the GOAT.
There are certain players that we have to ask, can anyone ever do this again? So for example, Will Chamberlain, 100 points. I don't know. Home runs, 74 in a season. I don't know. Is somebody going to go out there and do this or beat Gretzky's record or beat that? I don't know if there's going to be another player to play for as long as he did and win 7 Super Bowls and break all the records. That may not happen in our lifetime. Now, we all
not at least without some crazy medical advancements.
Believe in doing the impossible, but he made it so hard for somebody else to want to replicate. It's almost like he emotionally got everybody else that's behind him trying to catch up to him. Say, dude, there's everybody else I can compete with. Then there's Tom. Set Tom aside. I'm going to go after this guy. There's no way I'm going to be Tom. So this is a one-of-a-kind type of a person. You'll see the painting at the end when we give him as a gift. There's some special message.
That's really cool. I did skip to see the end, the painting at the end. You definitely want to stick around to see that.
Which is in there, we'll give him. I consider this guy the GOAT of GOATs. Please stand up and give it up to the one and only Tom Brady.
You on my mind a lot. Don't need no time watch. I don't know how I got.
Oh man, yeah, Mel's my media. No way anyone wins like that for just one team. And I mean, it's crazy. Six rings with one team and another ring with another team. Like, come on, man. That music is probably something we cannot be playing.
So, first of all, it's great to have you here.
Good
okay,
catch.
I know you're humble about it, but we're honored to have you here. Are you always this fired up? Like even back when you were leading everybody back there. Like you're telling me what to do, you're telling Dylan what to. Are you always like that?
I think
that is the sign of a leader.
if you roll the football out there, man, I know what to do.
I got you. Okay.
And your son brought one around the corner, and there's only one thing you know. It's like when you're a kid, I always think you're pretty lucky in life if you learn as a kid to like bounce a ball or dribble a ball, and you don't have to obviously be a professional at it. But some things in life can be pretty simple if you like, bouncing a ball or hitting a ball or kicking a ball. And I think.
Whoa! Did the audio just get weird for you guys?
I think that's very much the way that I was. A lot like your sons are back there, and everyone finds their own interests. I was so.
Is that just me, Melty? What is good with the sound? It's sounding crackly for me. No, good for you. All right.
Fortunate to find a real love for sports, and it wasn't just hitting the ball, throwing the ball. It was the camaraderie of teammates, and there's so many things that I've learned over the years being a part of a team setting and being involved in sports and dealing with people and relationships. And
real quick, I'm gonna say maybe it's just this because it was fine a second ago. We're at 7:13,
and everyone finds their own interests.
Right,
I was so fortunate to find a real love for sport of a team. Yeah, it's about getting the ball in the end zone, but that's that's the final step in the process. There's so many other things that lead to the camaraderie and the ability to do that more often than most other teams. So that's really where the work is.
Yeah, I mean, I was watching you back there. You're telling Dylan, so Dylan, what are you going to do? Let's warm up. You're throwing the ball. Okay, what route are you going to run? Boom, hot, hike. No, step back. That's yards. We got this. Okay, why don't you play defense on him? Hey, Dad, are you going to go? You're putting everybody to work. It was interesting.
And that's the kind of thing when you find a true leader or you just anyone who fits any specific role in life. But, here we're talking about a leader. And on this channel, we talk about leading. And it's just something that is ingrained. It's not something that you can learn. I mean, you can get better at it, but some people just have that leadership gene and some people don't.
Watching you do that, but what was that first moment for you? For these kids, they're going to be 40 years old one day saying, I freaking caught Brady's pass at 9 years old. Yeah. Life-changing for these guys. What was that moment for you when you were a kid?
Yeah, that's a little bit about inspiration. And for me, I grew up very fortunate. I grew up in San Mateo, California, which was just south of San Francisco. Yeah, at a time when the San Francisco 49ers were the team in the NFL. And I grew up in a very sports-centric family. I had 3 older sisters who I always say were all better athletes than I ever was. And I was just like their punky brat little brother that would follow them to their softball games at night, to their basketball games, and always cheered them on. And my dad loved sports. My mom loved sports. And it was just very much a part of our family. So
family. What is something that we talk about incessantly? The importance of family. Now, of course, we know enough about Tom Brady to know that, like, it's not like he had to dig himself out of some crazy poverty or anything. But so money definitely helps. But there's a lot of rich people who are not Tom Brady. That family and that father created a GOAT.
So many of the memories that I had as a kid were growing up on sports fields, going to the batting cage at night with my dad. I was the youngest of four, so we would always sneak off to the golf course when we wanted to have some boy time. And I learned just so many lessons,
Boy
I think,
time.
from those early ages, being in my own family and being with sisters that were supportive of me, my mom. And then ultimately I grew up on a street where there were, it was just a normal street in the Bay Area. There was 60, 70 kids on the street. This is when we used to play in the street.
60 to 70 kids. That's awesome. Like, my neighborhood had a decent amount of kids, like in the winters, especially, when there's fresh snow, we would all go to the park right across the street from my house and play pickup football. But we would maybe have like 12 people total. We're doing, we might need, we get an odd number. We have a permanent quarterback, and 60 to 70 kids. You got backups. You got special teams. That's awesome. My media asked, did you see him straight up lip kiss his son? Yeah, that was a little weird. Maybe a little more than a little weird. But I mean, if that is the worst that's going to come out of Tom Brady, then I can deal with it. Talk about boy time. Oh, no.
A lot of people in here probably played in the street too, but this was go down and make a right at the fire hydrant and, go right at the white car. Oh, don't get hit by the truck coming down, and the car would come and everyone would back off. So it was just a normal way to grow up. And I think that that was just such a great way for me to grow up in the Bay Area with a love for football and a love for sports in general, but to grow up on a street where that's what we did. We played football, two-hand touch, and in the street, we didn't have much of a front yard. We played, and if you hit the curb, that was out of bounds. So growing up, it was just so normal for me. And I really, in a way, still feel my life is like that. I don't feel like I've changed much over the years in terms of what my values were or what my priorities were.
So again, how important, if you want a champion, whether it's a literal champion or just somebody who is a champion at life, then instilling the values that coincide with that has to start at a very young age.
I just had those inspirational moments, I'd say, from growing up in the Bay Area and idolizing Joe Montana and Steve Young, who are my sports idols. And in baseball, Barry Bonds went to my high school. He's one of the greatest baseball players of all time. So there was these...
Let them use the juice.
Sports idols I had that really inspired me to dig deeper with myself. And I found a lot of people over the way, over 46 years, to support me in this journey.
Tom, was there a moment where did you have a moment like that with Montana threw a pass at you or Steve Young threw a pass at you? And if yes, how old were you? And outside of that, when you first met him, were you in your mind at all sizing him up, or you were just enamored? I cannot believe I'm catching the ball from a guy like this.
So this is an interesting question from PBD here. Now, if you're not familiar with the channel, we're not just here to watch and like, oh, Tom Brady, yay. I like to break down these conversations to see what is really being said and what's not being said, but is being said, if you know what I mean. So great question starting off with PBD.
Yeah, well, I never caught any passes from anyone, but what I did do was I was a bat boy, an honorary bat boy at a San Francisco Giants baseball game. And I was sitting in the dugout, and
everybody starts somewhere. There
was a great left-handed hitter who was one of my favorite players, Will Clark. His name was Will the Thrill.
Yep.
And he was my, at that time, the Giants, he was my favorite player. And he came out of I was sitting in the dugout, just scared shitless, not saying a word, looking straight ahead. And he came out from the tunnel of the clubhouse and came up, and he was saying something in like a squeaky voice, "Where's another helmet?" or something like that. And I just sunk back in my seat, and my dad was like, say something. I was like, I'm not saying anything. And then finally I stood up and I said, Mr. Clark, I'm Tom, nice to meet you. And I said, Tommy, this is Tommy, nice to meet you. And he said, nice to have you, kid. And, it was one of those moments where it was kind of really eye-opening for me. And, I had this opportunity when I was young to play. I was actually a pretty good baseball player when I was a kid.
So again, I think that's going to be the theme of the night, is how much those foundations, whether it's the actual family members, whether it's the actual values themselves, but the foundation upon which your child or any child is going to grow up to be, is probably nothing else could be more important. Nothing else.
And I was just surrounded by all those sports, and I picked a high school where it was very, it was right down the street from my house, but it was very baseball type school. And California, where I grew up, it wasn't really focused on football. There wasn't a ton of that. And sports in all of our communities were pretty impactful and influential in the ways that we grew up and we socialized. And again, I was fortunate to grow up at a great time in football sports in the Bay Area.
Did you always, like, if I was in high school with you, 13, 14, 15 years old, did you always have an absolute killer instinct where I'm going to show you, I'm going to prove the wait till you see what I'm going to do. I'm going to kill this guy when we face him? Was it always like that when you were in high school, or that kind of developed later on?
Again, you can see Brady pointing over another great question, because this is getting to the heart of not how did you, what did your coaches do? Bringing it back, staying with that theme of you are the person you're going to be is set by who you are from when you are young. Shout out to Dudet Attack, said congrats on 2K. Thank you, sir. And thank you to each and every one of you. Every 2000 and I think it's 2001 right now. Every single one of you. Thank you so much for being a part of this journey so far. But guys, we have only just begun. Thank you so much, Doodad, and welcome to the party.
Yeah, I think it developed over a period of time. And I think there was a work ethic that was in me. I think most people probably know a few things about me, but I was never, I would say, like a prodigy. I wasn't like the kid where you see Tiger Woods swinging on the Johnny Carson show at 2 or 3 years old, and his swing looks as good as it did at 3 years old as it did, as he grew older. Or
so that's a perfect example. When you have these genetic freaks, whether it's somebody like Tiger or somebody like LeBron or anyone else that just has that that physical stature, and I'm a much bigger MMA fan than I am a football fan these days. So when I think of people like Francis Ngannou, like it's just some of these people are just born with it, but it's not everybody. It's not everybody. And that shows that, yes, there are people who are luckier than others, and there's a lot of luck that goes into anything. But if you work for something, then you could probably achieve it. I mean, you might not be Tom Brady, but you could do your thing.
Certain players that had this unbelievable prodigy aspect to themselves. I saw myself as someone who probably had some other traits that maybe were hard to identify, but that were really sustainable over time, which was, I would say, work ethic and discipline. And that was instilled in me by, I think, my parents. I mean, there was part of it that they gave me, but also
I think we're going to have to drink every single time this man brings up his parents or his father, because it's so far that has been such an important part. We haven't even gotten to football yet. We barely got to football. He's a bat boy. And so far, this whole thing has been about his parents and the values they instilled. So shout out to all the parents and the great values that you're instilling. Beautiful, beautiful.
So just behaviorally growing up in an environment where my dad was out to work every morning, trying to go make a living for our family. And my mom woke up every day trying to figure out how to make sure the home was comfortable for us and, to support the kids. So
wait a minute. Do you mean that she was oppressed by your father? Or maybe that's just a good way to structure a family. Just throw it out there.
There was this discipline that I had that even as 13, 14, 15 years old, where all these other boys I went to an all-boy school in the Bay Area, and I remember showing up my first day as freshman year. I didn't have much, hair under my arms or anything like that. I was like, and these other kids came in shaving, and I'm like, what the hell is this? I didn't know how to put the pads on in my pants when I tried out for freshman football. I mean, I had never played until that point, except in the street. So these kids came out there. They had, helmets and shoulder pads that they had worn for 4 years through Pop Warner. And I went on the field and I was like, I'm going to get killed out here. And my freshman year, I didn't even play. I was the backup quarterback on a team that went 0-8.
That's a crazy aspect of sports that, especially when we talk about the leaders and the champions, that you never think about. You never think about the journey to get there. And again, as somebody who stopped playing sports once I got to high school, the notion of working, and never even stepping foot on the field during a game, I honestly don't know that I would have the personality, the discipline, whatever you want to call it. I don't think I would stick around if I'm not playing. I would just be like, what am I doing this for? But you can see that there's benefits to sticking with whatever it is. But certainly in the world of sports, you build your way up.
That says a lot. I couldn't get on the field, and we never won a game anyway. I mean, it's one thing to be the starting quarterback and to lose. If they don't even think you're good enough to be a starting quarterback on a team that's 0-8, you must really suck.
Yeah, I mean, like, if you have a great team, then, you don't want to risk anything by throwing in the freshman. If you're going 0-8, like, at least give the kid a shot. At least give the kid a shot. Let him play one down. What do we got here from Doodad Attacks? Exactly how our football team is. Homecoming's next week, and I'm excited. Shout out to homecoming. How many of you guys go to your, are you talking about your high school? Or are you talking about your college? How many of you actually go out to your high school football homecoming or games in general? I remember that when I still lived in my hometown, it wasn't like a huge event, but if you would go, you would usually go with a couple people, and other people would go with a couple people. So it was a bunch of groups of like four and five people, and then you meet up, and it was a really great experience. High school, shout out. That's awesome. So me and my friend are big into it. Word up. Well, definitely enjoy that, sir.
And the reason why I played my second year was because that quarterback quit, because he's like, I'm not playing football anymore. We suck. I'm going to focus on basketball. So
that would have been me.
Naturally, I was like, oh, cool. I'll continue to, work on my skill, because I actually had a halfway decent arm. But a lot of it was even going into my second year in high school, there were workouts in the morning at 6 a.m. before school. And I was like, okay, I can get up at 6 a.m. and I can go do these rope drills where you'd run through the rope. You see a lot of people do that. There were these hills that we would run up. And there was probably less than 10 people there, but I was probably one of the 3 that were there almost every single day to try to continue to push myself to grow in these maybe physical areas that I was really behind a lot of other people at. Because naturally, no one's good at everything. I mean, that's
true. But I mean, going and doing the extra stuff, it doesn't just apply to physicality. Especially if some of you guys are younger and you're going into college, take advantage of professors' office hours. If for no other reason than because they will remember you as the person who actually sought out for any kind of help. It doesn't need to be anything, you spend an hour there, just go by and be like, hey, I worked on this paper and I just wanted to get your thoughts on it before I hand it in. Stuff like that goes so far, because most people are not willing to just take that one extra step. It's just one extra step. I remember that I had classmates in college, and we would be walking by the professor's office during office hours. I would just make stuff up. I would just be like, same thing. Like, yo, I'm working on this paper. Hey, even if it's just a personal thing, like, hey, how you doing? Just wanted to say hi. People remember those who remember them.
It's just not the way life works. We're all talented at certain things, but we can really continue to improve our weaknesses if we're humble enough to identify them, and we can build on our strengths.
Fix this
and I think we're all trying to find a more well-rounded aspect to ourselves, but a lot of that has to come with this understanding about yourself, that what you know is very limited and what you don't know is limitless. And you have an opportunity every day to surround yourself with people to help you grow. And that could be, in my case, it very much was my parents early on. And then as I learned to love the sport of football, I was watching kind of on the periphery of pro athletes, but there was a junior college football coach that I wanted to become a better passer because I had a good arm. And he was a 3-sport coach at a junior college. His name was Tom Martinez, one of my great mentors. And he coached women's softball, which is how really I knew him, women's basketball, and men's football. And
Notice how, again, even going all the way back, he's still remembering names off the top of his head. These are can you imagine sitting at home? You haven't talked to Tom Brady. You haven't worked with him since he was a literal child. And now he's, accomplished everything that he's accomplished, retired with an amazing career. Now is up here with Patrick Bet-David, and he calls you out. This is the GOAT of all GOAT. And of course, the GOAT argument is always open. But and exactly, Melted Mind Media. What you don't know is limitless. Shout out to Melted Mind Media, another awesome YouTuber. Definitely go check out his channel. Just drop the link in the chat. Thank you, sir.
And I would go up there, and I would go up there to his camp to learn to throw the ball better when I was in 14 years old, 15 years old. And it just became this, like I said, life was pretty simple when you could kick a ball or throw it. And for me, it was throwing it, and I wanted to throw a ball better. So who better than to find this guy who was probably ahead of his time as a coach, and he taught me how to throw the ball.
Dude, I just saw that. Just these two. Well, at least that have the wire.
With some good fundamentals.
I think it's the mic, though.
And I really saw that as like, wow, I can go see someone who has more knowledge than me, and I can learn from him, and I can take him back to my school, and everyone's going to go, wow, Tom, you made some improvements. And I think that was a good learning experience for me, even at a young age.
And again, that's another important point about it's not about perfection. It's about improvement. If you are showing people that you are improving, if you're at your job and, maybe you're new and you don't know much, that's okay to not know everything. As he was just saying, not everybody is good at everything. What if you show a willingness to learn and a humility to understand that you're aware that you don't know everything, and that you're open to people who know more than you? Like that, these are fundamental things that go across the board. Whatever your job is, do this at your job and it will work. Dude, out of text, I saw. I wish the mic came with two, and both of them are having the exact same problem. And when I put the sound to this guy, it sounds perfect. You guys can hear it, so clearly it is the jack on the mic. So if you'd like to donate to help me get a new mic, that would be awesome.
So it wasn't the because there's a couple different ways that it happens, right? Like in business world, you're kind of do the business, you get into real estate, insurance, technology, whatever it is, and then all of a sudden you're like, let me see if I can make money with this thing. Then it's kind of like, oh my God, this is actually great. And then you kind of size yourself up against other people and are like, wow, I think I can actually beat that guy. And who's the guy that does it this way? Let me go to that guy. Oh wow, I didn't know about this. So kind of like we were telling the story about Hernandez. But when was
Hernandez?
It? Like, when was it?
Let's take a moment of silence for Aaron Hernandez and the man that could have been. Shout out to the man that Aaron Hernandez could have been.
You said, no, I think I can play against everybody. Because even in college, if you think about the two Drews in your life, right?
Yeah.
You're in Michigan.
I know some of you heard a different word, but he said the two Drews in his life.
Got what? Brian Greasy, I believe, right? And then Drew.
Go Blue.
Yeah. And then you got Drew Henson, who becomes like you, he was also a baseball player too. He ended up, I think, getting drafted by the Yankees, right? Drew Henson. And it was an interesting structure the coach had. One quarter, 2 quarters, first half, second half, which is kind of tough to create momentum. I think you guys went 21-5 or 20-5 or something like that with the record you had.
And again, guys, this usually I like to come in as blind as I can and watch this stuff fresh with you guys. I could not help myself. Once I started this, I was like, this is amazing. I'm just not stopping it. So listen, so what Patrick Bet-David is talking about now, which I was not aware of, was the process of Brady becoming the starter. And, like he said, he started, in school as the freshman, like I think he said fourth string, or if he didn't say that, he's going to say that. And the actual way that the coaches decided, both in college and on the Patriots, it's just a crazy experience to hear, again, just from the mouth of the guy, right from the horse's mouth. It's so unique for us to be able to see this side of Tom Brady, a long form interview. I know he has his book out, but again, aside from that, where have you heard any of this?
And then, but you were like a backup to Drew, and then comes Drew Bledsoe, backup to Drew again. So there's a backup. Are you in your mind saying, where the market, kind of like the movie Seabiscuit, yeah, you're just a horse to help the other guy get better. You're not the horse that's supposed to be the number one horse. So you always train to kind of be here to build the confidence in the other guy that's going. At what point did you say, these guys have no freaking clue who the hell I am? I'm a number one.
Here's the thing. Before he goes into this story, I want you guys to realize that, you know, I mean, I didn't watch Seabiscuit, so I don't know exactly what he means, but I understand that the horse meant to be the one that makes the real horse faster. Some of you are that second horse. But you know what doesn't happen? Seabiscuit doesn't win without the other horses. And so obviously we all want to be in this analogy. We all want to be Seabiscuit. We all want to be the one front and center. We all want to be the star. We all want to be the champion. And that's great if you can be. But sometimes you're not going to be. And if you just understand your role and you play that well, that will open up opportunities for you. That will allow you to be much more fulfilled in whatever it is that you're doing. This is again stuff. Again, guys, the stuff that you need to extract when you're hearing people of this caliber just have even casual conversation. There is a lot happening. There's a lot that you can just plug into your life right away. And maybe you knew it already, but it never hurts to hear it again. It never hurts to hear good advice more than once.
One guy. Did that ever click in your mind where you were number two saying, I belong being number one?
Well, I think there was naturally a very competitive part of me.
Oh, I got my first Facebook like. Shout out to Pinky Beauty. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the party. Say hello, say hello. There she is. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the party. Glad to have you.
And I love that. And can I go back a little bit?
Of course.
Give you a little context too. So
again, he was just talking. Patrick Bet-David was just talking about Tom Brady is going from the Patriots and being a third or fourth string and having Drew Bledsoe and the other Drews. And so Brady's like, all right, let me back up a little bit. Guys, this story is great. Shout out to Bon Zig. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the party with a great quote from Ricky Bobby's father. If you're not first, you're last. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the party.
My freshman year in football, I didn't even play. Literally didn't play. Maybe 2 or 3 passes. The coach from the sideline screamed at me one time my freshman year, "Brady, you're moving in slow motion."
I mean, he does run pretty slow. How am I doing? I am doing fantastic. I don't know where everybody is. Usually we have a little bit bigger of a crowd, but I am so glad that you guys are here to witness this. I'm very excited about this this show tonight. I'm very happy that they did this event. How are you doing?
And I was slow as shit.
Come on, bro. You the GOAT, but you still slow shit.
Still am.
There we go. Okay.
So going into my second year, like I said, the guy quit ahead of me, so I became the junior varsity quarterback. There were 3 teams in my high school. And I had a coach named Bob Vanal, Perry Carter, Joe Hessian at Sarah High School. And they were there for the football experience. They were having as much fun as the kids were. They didn't see it as varsity football. They were there to embrace the love of the game. And for the kids that weren't good enough to play on varsity. And they really took me under their wing.
So there you go. What was I just talking about? I was just talking about the idea that not everybody is going to be the front runner. Not everybody. They were talking about Seabiscuit and the horse that is meant to make Seabiscuit faster. That's okay if you're not Seabiscuit. That's okay if you're in a supporting role, because that is, if you understand that, then again, you can make that part of your life and part of your identity and do the best that you can do. And then people will notice that and maybe that moves you up.
And we had so much fun that second year. I love my football experience, one of the great years of my entire life. I really started working hard with Tom Martinez to throw the ball better. My third year, I won the starting job in my high school. And I loved the sport so much that I stopped playing basketball and I just played baseball and football. But in the summers, I would go, and my dad, who was very available to me, with the greatest mentor, the greatest dad I could ever imagine, was so right there by my side.
All right, drink when he mentioned his father. Shout out again to family values.
Hey, Dad, I want to be a better football player. Great, let's take you to the University of Arizona camp. Let's take you to the Cal Berkeley camp. Let's take you to the Stanford camp. You know, this is when you just sign up and there's 1,000 other kids and you're just in a group, and that's just the way it was. But my dad was there to say, go for it, son. And if there was a blessing in my life that I would say, some of the things I blessed with: hard work, discipline. I was also blessed with being very naive. I had no idea how hard it was.
Okay. Being naive is not necessarily a good thing, but if you're going down this road and you have no idea how hard it's going to be, which I am certainly not comparing myself to Tom Brady, but you have no idea what it takes to even run the simplest of YouTube channels. And, shout out again to Doodad Tech for saying the congrats. And thank you to all 2,000 of you. But I was going to say being naive is not necessarily a good thing, but certainly the confidence that comes with the lack of understanding of how much a lot of this is really going to suck. You're really not going to want to do this part, that part, that part, that part. It's not just being on camera and talking to you guys. There's a lot of other stuff going into it. And so interesting perspective of realizing that at that point, you didn't know what you were getting yourself into. I'm sure a lot of, yes, sir, I did. Thank you. There's a lot of times in life where you're going to start a new job, or you're going to go meet a guy or a girl or whatever, and you don't really know what to expect. And maybe it's not going to be the best thing, but maybe it is. And maybe it's not going to seem exactly like you want it, but that's life. That's life. And so being able to appreciate that the naivete that you had allowed you to go forth into something that you may not have been prepared for, but you became prepared for. Much 2K, that's the next game coming out. Let's go.
But I believed, because I was like, no, like I'm going to get better, and I'm going to be better. Well, going into my 4th year in high school, I was recruited, but not like a lot of the top kids. I was big. I was the size I am now, tall. I had a good arm, but there were a lot of other physical deficiencies that they saw. So I wasn't a high recruit. So it was a different era where, look, we're in the digital age now. That's not the way things worked back in 1994. We had to make VCR tapes with my dad in his office when I said, Dad, we got to put together the most clips that I have.
Just so I know, is there anybody here who is not old enough to have ever used a VCR? I'd be surprised if you didn't know what a VCR was, even if you're 17 or 18. But just curious. Does everybody just put a 1 in the chat if you don't know? Or no. Put a 1 in the chat if you've never used a VCR.
And this is when my dad would film the games. I mean, now it's like Channel 5 broadcasts every high school game in the area. This was my dad with a camcorder, and every time the ball was thrown, he'd be focused on me, right? And the ball would go this way, and he'd stand up, and the camera would go to the left, and he'd be watching, and he'd start jumping out, go! So, of course, we missed every important throw that I had in high school.
How wholesome is that? Dad, we got to get all the clips together, but he's so excited to watch his son. Shout out to Dad. So excited to watch his son that the tape comes second. That's just wholesome.
So we pieced together enough clips to go, hey man, Tommy, where do you think you want to go to college? And I was like, I don't know, University of Illinois. And I was looking at a lot of maybe not top tier college programs. And in the end, I was like, well, yeah, just let's send one to USC. Let's send one to Michigan. And I was like, do you think we should send one to Michigan, Dad? And he's like, yeah, may as well. You think you like it. Of course, I'm from California. Michigan, that's a long way from California. So I send these tapes out,
cold,
and there's a little bit of buzz about me, and I start getting recruited. And I get these letters, and of course, I'm like, wow, every day I'm getting these different letters from school saying, oh, we consider you a prospect, continue to keep up the good work. And I would file them all, in a file folder. And my high school counselor came up to me and he's like, Tom, we got to start applying to colleges. And I'm like, dude, I'm getting a scholarship. What are you talking about?
I thought you were so naive that you didn't know what you were getting into, apparently. But on the other side of having that awareness of what you don't know, there has to be a little bit of that confidence. If you remember when Peter Boghossian was on the channel, definitely go check that out if you have not already. We were talking about delusion, and I was saying that any kind of delusion is not a good thing for a person to operate their life. and he brought up the idea that, I believe I can be the best. Well, for Tom Brady, that wasn't a delusion. That was a belief, but it wasn't a delusion. And for some people are the best. Some people say, maybe they're not saying that they're going to be the greatest quarterback ever. They're not going to be the greatest salesman ever. They're not going to be the greatest YouTuber ever, whatever. But knowing that you can, or believing that you can do this, I have a belief that not only is this channel going to continue to grow, but that I will be able to fix political discourse in America. Is that delusional? A lot of you would say yes. Hell no, it ain't. If you don't believe me, hit that subscribe and stick around for the journey.
And he's like, yeah, no, we're going to apply to all these colleges. And funny story, I never applied to any college. But
there you go.
I actually got halfway decent through my 4th year in college that the momentum picked up. And I wanted to go. I got offered a scholarship to UCLA. And then they turned me away at the last minute because another kid signed before me. And I really wanted to go to USC. That was probably my first choice. But they didn't want me either. They signed another kid who was one of the top recruits on the West Coast. So
that's another thing to think about how cutthroat professional sports in general are. But anything where you're going to be at the top tier, everybody dreams of being an NFL quarterback. But how many people who do Pop Warner football actually even make it to the red shirts? It's a very, very small number. Shout out to Lefty Lucy. Welcome to the party. Good to see you. Welcome.
I never forget these stories, by the way. These are like hardcore ingrained.
That's what I was saying before. Like, he is on it. And we don't hear him. Like, again, the fact that he is not somebody who does a lot of interviews like this, where he is, I mean, maybe he's done a lot more than I know of, but I certainly have not heard or seen anything long form like this. I've seen specials, I've seen documentaries, I've seen takes from football, but I've never heard it straight from him. And the fact that he remembers all of this so vividly just tells you how much it means to him. And it shows that every moment can be an opportunity for something huge. And it's just up to you to take that opportunity and seize the day, as they say.
So then I went to Michigan. I show up. They walk me into the big house. And it's called the big house for a reason. There's 102,000 people in there on a college football Saturday. Now it's expanded to like 112,000. It's incredible. Damn. And I walk through the tunnel at midfield, and they go, from Sarah High School in San Mateo, Tom Brady. And I looked up and I was like, I want to go to school here. So I'm there for 2 days. I don't talk to my parents the whole time. We didn't have cell phones. And I get to the airport in Detroit, and I call my dad, Collect. And I go, Dad.
Put a one in the chat if you don't know what a collect call is.
I think I know where I want to go to college. And like, he started breaking down, and he's like, what? Leaving to go.
Oh, Lucy. Yes, this is the flat football guy. Hopefully, by watching the point of me covering this, despite the fact that it's a sports guy, it's not really in politics or what are the cultural issues, is because of how big of a name he is and how directly connected to all of the things that we talk about. He is, and this conversation is. But I hope that by the time this interview is different, then you have a very different view of him than the flat football guy. Because again, I was a Jets fan, so there was nobody in the sport of football that I hated more than that man right there as a fan. But at the end of the day, you've got to respect him. Right now, we've got our running poll. Do you respect Tom Brady's career? And we're only at 50-50. Only a couple votes, but only at 50-50. So, replay gang, I'm going to need your input. If you are watching this on the replay, please let me know, yes or no, do you respect Tom Brady's career? Lucy says, I'm in the UK, so that's the only time I heard of him. Fair enough. But hey, you heard of him, right? So that's exactly why he's not somebody who is out there in the press that much. Certainly not about his personal life, and somebody who has accomplished so much it's just amazing to be able to hear straight from him what all of that was like.
Go all the way back to Michigan. And he said, are you sure you want to go? And I said, Dad, if I want to be the best, I got to beat the best. And this
if you want to be the best, you gotta beat the best. I mean, that's definitely a line that a lot of UFC fans use inappropriately, but in this case, it absolutely rings true. Love said he threw me as his hairline has grown back. Hey, that happens when you got money. You can get those plugs in, and they look a lot better than they used to. Yeah, he looks younger now. He's and he talks about how he feels better. He feels younger than when he was my age. And I mean, do you remember what hair plugs looked like in the 90s? Like the ant legs that they just be like boom, 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 and it'd be a thick like oh man. I mean, that is what you want from a hair plug or hair transplant type of situation. Hey, shout out to Dietrich. Welcome to the party, brother. Said a belief is what we desire to become a reality. A delusion is living in the reality with the perception that what is can be made up as you desire. Oh my God, Dietrich's coming in hot with the comment of the night already. The perception that what is can be made up as you desire. That is delusion. Well said, sir. Well said, sir. A belief is not necessarily a delusion. It could go either way, but a delusion. Perfectly said. Perfectly said. Welcome to the party, brother.
Where the best are. So I showed up on campus as a freshman in the fall of 1995. I was the 7th quarterback on the depth chart. There were 6 other guys ahead of me, and Michigan is a great college.
And remember, this is still in response to the question of how did it feel building up behind Drew Bledsoe?
There's, it competes for national championships, and I wanted to be a great football player. If I was going to be a great football player, I wanted to compete against these other guys, and they were all better than me. Like I said, just like in high school, I was deficient. Well, we had another athlete who was in my freshman class at Michigan, Charles Woodson.
Shout out to Charles Woodson and shout out to David Banner. Welcome to the party. Said, who picked no to respecting Brady's career in the poll? You have to recognize the GOAT. I agree with you completely, sir. And again, coming from a Jets fan, there's few people that I've hated in my life. As a Jets fan, I hated Tom Brady, and as just a person, I've hated Anthony Fauci. Let's not go there. But still, we have to recognize greatness when we see it. That's another thing about this, is it's not necessarily about allegiances and was he the greatest player. As I'm realizing as we're watching this, it's about the greatness comes with a lot of other things. Greatness comes with a personality, or at least personality traits that you can spot from a mile away. PBD was talking about how, before this, they were backstage and he was, directing everybody, directing the kids to go run routes. And then he had PBD running routes and everything. And PBD is, he's one of these greatness guys, leadership guys, certainly not on the level of Brady, obviously, but there's levels. And when you are that guy, and when you know you're that guy, then not only can you be that guy, but you can be comfortable knowing that, hey, this is my wheelhouse. This is my wheelhouse. I mean, yeah, like they say, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. Yeah, I got really, really, really mad at the inflate or deflate gate, as they said. But at the end of the day, there's way worse cheating that was going on, and especially with the Patriots as well. But and he's going to talk about that, so I'll let him. He's going to do it better than I can. So again, we're going, PBD asked about what was it like coming behind Drew Bledsoe, and Tom Brady brings us all the way back to college where he is the 7th string quarterback.
And Charles showed up on campus. He had a goatee. He looked like a Greek god. And I was like, how am I in the same locker room as this guy? This guy looks like a physical freak, which he was, and he won the Heisman in his 3rd year, and he went on to be a Hall of Famer in the NFL, and he's one of my great friends. But we laugh because, man, that freshman locker room, I'm looking over there at like Charles Woodson as the 7th quarterback, and Charles out there starting on opening day as a true freshman. And I was, worked really hard because I developed this work ethic in high school, and I realized, man, if I want to be good, I gotta wake up in the morning, I gotta do the extra work, and I gotta show up when other guys aren't, and I've got to learn, I've got to continue to be open to learning.
Again, the same thing about, whether it's going to the extra early practice or if you're in school and going to the professor's office hours. Just doing that little bit of extra really, really, really makes a difference.
And my freshman year, I redshirted. Never played, barely practiced, but I learned a lot. My second year, I had improved a lot physically through that work. And I started to compete in a way that the coaches would notice me a little bit. And my second year, it was a few little crazy stories of how it got to be the way that it did. But I ended up becoming the 3rd quarterback in my second year. And it rotated a little bit there my second year, but I went from 3rd in my second year to now my 3rd year, I was competing to be a starter.
Hold up. But I don't think has he ever popped for PEDs? I'm trying to think. I don't think so. I gotta fact check that. I'm sure one of you guys know off the top of your head, but did Tom Brady ever pop for PEDs? A Reddit post saying it's very obvious that Tom Brady has used performance enhancing drugs. Cora will probably give us a little bit of a better answer. Yeah, I don't. This is not helpful at all. Needs to prove he's not on steroids. Yeah, I think you're. I don't think so. I think. Yeah, I mean, I'm with you there. But this is. How did that happen? But this is. Okay. Well, since this popped up, let's see what it says. From the Liberty Line from January 2022. This is, I believe, right before he retired, right? So Tom Brady needs to prove he's not on steroids before Sunday. Let's just straight to it. Is he taking steroids? This is beyond ridiculous. Are we seriously pretending that Tom Brady has been able to play football at this age because he does pliability exercises? It has been heavily reported that Brady only uses resistance band training with flexibility training, which includes foam rolling and deep massages. Brady only eats organic, blah, blah, blah. So these people are saying, nope, not buying it. But I am an American, and I say innocent until proven guilty. Can you do that for me and see if you come up with anything? Thank you. And I mean, so it depends on what we're talking about when we say PEDs, because certainly protein and caffeine and things like that will enhance your performance. But we're talking about banned substances. Now, again, I'm not necessarily, if it's not combat sports, which, football is kind of like in that gray area. Like, certainly I don't give a flying, well, I can't curse yet. I don't give a flying hoot if baseball players are on PEDs. Like, let them juice themselves to the gills. But there's a lot of physical contact, and certainly in MMA, I'm not down with that. But that being said, Lance Armstrong was when he outed himself. He wasn't caught. He outed himself. And so for the the Tour de France, right? And so obviously they were like, okay, you can't win. You can't be the winner because you've cheated. So let's go to the next person. Oh, we got to test them. They tested positive too. All right, let's go down the list to the third person. Another person popped. Does anybody know? I'll send you a $5 super chat right now. Actually, or Cash App I meant, but I don't trust you guys. You guys are going to Google it. But does anybody know how far down the list of the last Tour de France that Lance Armstrong did that they had to go in order to crown a champion? How far down the list? First place, second place, third place, fourth place. How far down the list? If anybody knows, I'll be surprised.
And because I had learned to compete in high school, and I learned to compete my first 2 years in college. In fact, I almost thought about leaving Michigan. And in my second year, I got a call from Steve Mariucci at Cal, and he said, Tom, if you come here, you can start for us. And
So, and again, I'm right there with you. I was trying with, if Deflategate could have helped the Jets at all, I would have been right there to back it, bias and all. But now looking back, it's not like he personally deflated the balls. There's a whole team involved in this. So it's not like Tom Brady was like, I have an idea. We should do this. It's an entire organization. And this is just the things that we know about. We know that other teams, like you're saying, it's easy to get around testing. You know, they what did you say? They all sports take PEDs. And so we can't judge one person differently than the rest of the people in the same category. If we're going to say that, and again, if he had had a guilty test or a failed test, then that's one thing. But if we're just going to speculate, and that the only thing we could say is maybe he did PEDs and he used a deflated ball. I mean, 12 years in the league? Lefty Loose said cheat and GOAT don't fit in the same sentence. Wrong. John Jones is the GOAT, the best fighter to ever walk the face of the earth, and popped mad times. I mean, that's just my personal opinion. But again, I mean, you if you're saying they're all cheating, then are you saying there's no such thing as the greatest football player of all time? You know what I mean?
you're going into your third year.
Let's see where we were here.
Tom, if you come here, you can start for us.
Right. So he's at, I think he said Michigan, and they wanted him at Caltech, saying you can be a starter, when I think he was third string at this point.
And you're going into your third year. If you leave Michigan, you can come here and you can start for us. And of course, Cal was one of my great choices. I thought, shit, I could go home and be a starter. And I walked into Coach Carr's office, the head coach at Michigan at the time. And I said, Coach, what's my situation like? And he said, Brady, I want you to stop worrying about what all the other players on our team are doing. All you do is you focus on the starter, the second guy. You don't worry about what you're focused on. You came here to be the best. I want you at this program. And if you're going to be the best, you got to beat out the best.
And if you want to be the best, you have to beat the best. Lucy says, tests have never popped anybody. Again, wrong. John Jones has been popped multiple times. And we've seen a lot of players get. I mean, I understand that this is your position. A lot of people feel the same way. I just don't. Without a failed test, I'm not going to speculate on what somebody's doing. We live in America, and you are innocent until proven guilty. I'm saying it's very likely, but that's not part of the conversation for me. Because if every single football player is taking the exact same banned substances, then he's still the best. And I'll tell you what, maybe in the latter part, the latter chapter of his career, that he was held up by these PEDs that never showed up on any test. But before that, whether he was taking pens or not, the man did the damn thing. You don't get 7 Super Bowl rings just by taking PEDs. Especially on your point, if they're all taking PEDs, then why don't they all have 7 rings?
And he goes, you got to start working with this guy named Greg Harden, who was another mentor in my life. Greg just came out with the book a few days ago. And Greg had been a sports psychologist at Michigan. And we got to start building this knowledge, and we got to create a strategy and a plan. And he said, I would complain all the time that the guys ahead of me were getting more opportunity than I was. There was a certain amount of repetitions in practice. The starter would get 20, the backup would get 10, and I would get 2. And I'd go in and I'd say, well, how can I ever get better? All these guys get all the reps and I only get 2. And he said, just go in there and focus with the 2 that you got and make them as perfect as you possibly can.
Brilliant advice. And again, this is something that he's just rattling off. He's been talking for the last 20 minutes. He's been talking, maybe not 20 minutes, but in the video, he's been talking for at least 10 minutes, if not 15. And all this stuff is so fresh in his mind. This happened, what, 20, 25, 30 years ago? It's just amazing how much some of these things can affect a person. And when you are that person and you let it affect you in such a way that propels you to greatness, it doesn't have to, you don't have to be the GOAT of whatever you do. You just have to be the best that you can be. You will not be unfulfilled in your life if you are doing everything that you can to be the best person that you can be. That just doesn't happen. That just doesn't happen. There's other things that are gonna, suck. That happens to everybody. But you're not gonna feel like a piece of shit. You're not gonna feel like, oh, I need to do this, that. The only person you need to compete with is yourself.
So I said, okay.
Hell yeah.
So that's what I did. They'd put me in for those two. Man, I'd sprint in there like it was Super Bowl 49. Let's go, boys. Here we go. What play we got? And I did really well with those two because I brought enthusiasm. I brought some energy, and I had a little more confidence in myself. And it went from 2 reps to getting 4 reps because those 2 were pretty good. Then I had 4 good reps. Then I got 10 good reps. And before you knew it, through this new attitude, through this new shift that Greg had said to me, focus on what you can control. Focus on what you're getting, not what anyone else is getting.
And this isn't like, novel information. I'm sure you've heard of like, what's the serenity prayer that they say at AA? God grant me the what is it? The courage to, or the strength to change to I don't know, but changing things, like you can change what you can change. Don't get mad at the things you can't change, and the wisdom to know the difference. Somebody, you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. But focusing on yourself, focusing on outside factors is good when you have a good understanding of where you stand, but you can't start with that. You can't start with that.
Whenever you get an opportunity, you take advantage of it. You treat it like it's the Super Bowl. You treat it like it's game day. Go out there and treat practice like no one else does. And I did that every single day. And it was a lot. It was taxing on me. There was a lot of stress for me, even in high school. When I look back at those times, it wasn't probably like a typical college experience because I was really motivated to play, but I had to take it to a new level that the other guys wouldn't. So go.
And so what he's talking about is something that I was very aware of with when I was in high school and the other athletes. And I got to, go to school at the normal time and then leave when school was over. And they'd be, they're practicing at 5 a.m. And then, after school, they got to practice 4 more hours. And then they got games and they got all this stuff. I'm like, you got to do all this stuff. I can just go home and watch TV. And yeah, it was nice to be able to relax. But now he's Tom Brady. Now he holds 7 Super Bowl rings. So I bet there's a lot of people who spent time around doing exactly the same things that Tom Brady was doing, but just not as much. And I guarantee you, they look back and I was better. Remember, we were talking about the people who were more physically and genetically gifted. And he said he wasn't one of those people. So if those people had worked like Tom Brady had worked, then they absolutely could have been in that seat right now. But they didn't. And so they have to live with that. And the same thing goes for each and every one of us. We see what's going on in the world. We see all the things that we don't like. We can sit around and complain about it, or we can, number one, put ourselves in the best position to be able to fight back and then actually fight back. Rhetorically, with your words, not violence. We don't gotta go down the list. There's so much BS in politics and in culture that we need to be pushing back against right now. But you have the choice to either stay quiet and hope that it passes you by, or you can stand up and say something. And then years from now, you'll be able to look back and be very, very, very glad that you did.
Going into my 4th year, now I had competed freshman year, sophomore year, going into my 3rd year. And I had learned these tools to compete. And I said, whatever they asked me to do, that's what I'm going to do to the best of my ability. And I went in there, I competed really hard my 3rd year, and I lost the starting job to Brian Greasy. And Brian Greasy led the team to a 12-0 national championship that year.
Crazy.
So I was part of a national championship team, and I barely played. So I go into my 4th year, and I was like, now's my time. I worked hard to compete my first 3 years. Going into my 4th year, I got a great opportunity to play.
And remember, when he was at when he started, he wasn't playing at all. He wasn't playing at all. And just by 2 reps of practice, you build on that. You build on what you have. That is what people mean when they say pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Just take what you have and make the best of it so that you have more to then make the best of that as well.
And I worked hard. It's time for me to come. And they recruited a kid named Drew Henson, who was one of the top prospects in the country from Michigan, right next door to University of Michigan. And here he was coming in the door that everyone knew about. He was on the cover of Sports Illustrated.
Wow.
So all the fans and all the media, they weren't interested in Tom Brady, backup quarterback to Brian Greasy, Tom Brady, backup quarterback to Scott Dreisbach his first year, or Scott Dreisbach his second year.
How many of you can resonate with that point? That there's somebody else. There's somebody else. Nobody cares about you because they're paying attention to that person. Again, you can sit and complain and cry about it, or you can demand and you can earn their attention and respect. It's up to you.
Now we have Drew Henson coming in. And I was like, the competition's relentless. At first I was looking at the guys ahead of me. Now I got to be looking down at the guys behind me too. But I said, you know what? I'm going to apply the same thing that I learned in those previous years. I'm going to go out there and compete as hard as I can.
Again, what does that mean? What does that mean when he says, I'm going to do what I did those previous years? It means that I'm going to stick to my values. This is what got me to the dance. And this is what I'm going to stick with. Standing on my values. Now, obviously, it's not always the idea of like, well, this is what's always been done, so I'm going to keep doing it. But it's that awareness to know this is what actually got me to the dance. It's not just a thing that I was doing, so I got to superstitiously continue. You got to look at what works, look inside, critique yourself, make sure that you're not just going along to get along, and do better.
And I'm going to treat practice like a game. And I'm going to gain the respect of my teammates every day through my work ethic. I'm going to work hard in the weight room. I'm going to work hard in the film room. I'm going to work hard to be a good student.
Mm-hmm.
And
again, this applies to everything, guys. Usually we have at least twice as many people in here right now. And I don't know where everybody is. And I'm not super happy about it, but I love that you guys are here. And whether there's 1,000 people watching or there's 3 people watching, I'm going to do my best to do my best.
Going into my 4th year, it was a little bit of a battle, and my teammates named me team captain, and I won the starting job.
Nice.
And we had a good year. We finished 10-3. In our bowl game, we played in the Citrus Bowl, and we came back from I think it was a 10-point lead in the 4th quarter, and to win the game. And I was like, man, that was unbelievable. Now that I'm going into my 5th year, like, we're going to have a great year. I was 10-3, learned a lot, beat everyone out. And then I showed up, and Coach Carr says, well, you're going to compete with Drew Henson to be the starter.
Oh, no. How common is that for college athletes to stay in college more than, the standard 4 years? Because he was saying 5th year, and I know that, especially the big colleges with the big football programs, like, they're not worried about what your grades are and stuff. They'll fudge everything. They'll make sure you are there to play football and make money for the school. So I can see it, but is that common? I'm not familiar. Let me know if you're a college football fan.
Your 5th year. And I was like, you got to be.
Yeah, let's run that back.
Beat everyone out. And I showed up, and Coach Carr says, well, you're going to compete with Drew Henson to be the starter going into your 5th year.
Come on, man.
And I was like, you got to be kidding me. But I was like, you want me to compete? That's what we're going to do. And Drew had improved too. So Drew was learning to compete as well. And my view on team sports was you compete, and whoever wins the job, that's the person that gets it.
And I was just about to say, from the when we're talking about delusion versus beliefs and what you can do with your mind and all that stuff, the idea that you're confronting the reality of your belief and whether or not it is a reality or whether it is a delusion, it would be very easy for so many of us to just have constant obstacle and doing everything right, and then you still have more obstacles. It wouldn't be hard for him to be like, okay, maybe I'm not the best. Maybe I'm just, good at my high school. Like so many high school quarterbacks, high school athletes, they get to college, that's what they realize. Most of them. But he did something different. He kept his belief. He kept his drive. And again, look where it brought him.
No one's entitled to a position on a team.
Bingo.
Whatever is best for the team, that's what everyone has to say. Look, man, the kid beat me out. He's better. Gives us a better chance to win.
And that also comes with humility. So there's a balance of thinking, I am the best. I can do whatever it is that I want to do. But also, okay, I have to show everybody I know what I can do, but they don't know what I can do. I know what I can do in this seat with this camera. I know what I can do. But there's just so many people out there that don't know. There's people popping in and out. And they're like, oh, who is this guy? I have to prove to each and every one of you that I deserve your attention.
So I competed really hard again in my 5th year. Took it to a new level. Thought about my conditioning, my strength. Thought about how I was making my decisions off the field. Going to my 5th year, and I was starting to play really good. And I thought, I'm gonna have a chance. And Coach Carr called me in and he said, well, Tom, this is what we're gonna do. You're gonna start. Drew, you're gonna play the second quarter. And I'm gonna decide at halftime who plays the rest of the year.
So this is what the original question from PBD was asking, saying, oh, there's, the switching around. This is exactly what he was talking about.
And I was like, not what I wanted to hear, but I'm going to deal with it the best way I can. So first game of the year, we played Notre Dame. I start. Drew comes in the second quarter. He says, Tom, you're going to play the rest of the game. We're down 4 points with 2 minutes left in the game. I drive him down the field. We score. We win the game. I'm like, man, way to go. I'm ready to keep this going.
And again, remember at each one of these points, how many other people and again, we're talking about football, but apply it to your own life. How many people have gotten that opportunity? Oh, I know if I can just get, one play, then I can prove everybody. And they don't. A lot of people. So again, that balance of belief in yourself and self-awareness of reality, to be able to keep that in balance at that level is just impressive.
He says, we're going to do the same thing next week. Okay.
At this point, is this common? This isn't like coaches do this regularly, right?
No, it's totally.
This is totally random.
It's definitely not normal. And again, I was a team captain too. So, I had to do what was right by the team, and I took that. That was like one of the greatest. I always say that was one of the great honors that you could have, was when all your buddies from college and these great athletes, they name you captain because they say, "Man, you deserve it. We want you to be the leader for us." So, I go into the second game of the year, and I start. Drew comes in, and he says, Tom, you're going to play the third and fourth quarter, which I did. We won pretty handily. It wasn't against a great team. So we played at Syracuse, and I played in the first quarter. We didn't score. Drew came in, threw a touchdown pass in the second quarter, came in, and he said, Drew's going to play in the second half. And a 5th-year senior, captain of the team, 10-3, won a bowl game in my 4th year, got off to an undefeated start in my 5th year. And I was like, all right, let me cheer him on.
All right, let me cheer him on. I've said a number of times, I don't know, but at that point, I might have given up. At that point, I definitely would have given up. Maybe I just don't. I mean, certainly, I don't have the type of drive that he does. I like to think that I have a pretty good drive when I set my mind to something. But I don't know if I could deal with that.
I'm going to cheer him on. And We won the game. I stood up there and we sang the victors. I sang it louder than I ever sang after a game. Hail to the victors. And I wanted my teammates to know that I had their back, even if it wasn't right for me.
So what? Now he's bringing up something else about, you know, the people around you. How do the people around you see you? How do the people around you feel about you being around them? You want to be somebody who, when you walk in the room, people are happy about it. There's too many people that just don't care that that's not the case with them. People are the only way to make anything of yourself in this world. If you are not a person who has the riz, as they say these days, I mean, you got to work on it. You got to work on that. People are the only way you will make it in this world.
Or I didn't feel it was right for me.
Yeah.
So we platooned for another couple games.
Again, platoon meaning that one person will start the first quarter or the first half, and then they switch off.
6th game of the year. We're undefeated. We're going to Michigan State. They had undefeated team. I started. Drew played the second quarter, and they started Drew in the second half. We didn't have a great third quarter with Drew in, so they brought me in, and they said, Brady, you're going to play the rest of the game. Almost the end of the third quarter. We scored 4 touchdowns from the mid-third quarter to the end of the game.
Wow.
And we ended up losing.
Oh.
So we were 5-1. I walked in there after the game. All the teammates came up and said, great job. And Coach Carr said, we're going to platoon next week.
Oh.
And I was like, wow, we're really in on this platoon thing, huh?
For real.
We played Illinois at home. We were huge favorites. I played the first quarter. Drew played the second quarter. I started the third quarter. I threw an interception. He took me out of the game.
Oof.
They put Drew in. Drew threw an interception. They took him out of the game.
And that's how cutthroat this is. Even at the college level, you only got one shot. There's so much weight on everything that you do that it's not just about the skill of doing this, that, or the other. It's about being able to perform when it's time to perform.
They put me back in. Had a pretty good fourth quarter of the game. Driving to win the game. Our starting center, we're in field goal position to win. I'm in the shotgun. Snaps the ball 25 yards over my head to knock us out of field goal range. We lose the game to Illinois. And after that, Coach Carr said, the platoon's off. Tom's playing the rest of the year. We didn't lose a game the rest of the season.
Let's go.
So
that's, I mean, what a story. What a story of everything before the Tom Brady that we quote unquote know and love. And this is not, he's not even in the NFL yet. He's not even in the NFL yet.
And that wasn't just because of me. I want to be really clear. We had a great team. But what did I learn from that whole situation? You know, it was a tough battle for me. It was a tough go. It was tough in high school. It was really tough in college. There was a lot of stress. Nothing was given to me. I didn't take the easy way out going to Cal and saying, God, that could be really easy. Close to home. My mom can do my laundry. And everyone can come to the game. I can start. I stuck it out at Michigan where it was 10 degrees in the wintertime. And it was a lot of tough competition. So, of course, now I'm going to the NFL draft. And I'm like, all these pro coaches must have seen how good I was. I mean, they watched me at Michigan. We beat Ohio State.
If you already know, then you already know. But if you don't know, we are talking about the greatest quarterback of all time getting ready for his first, for the NFL draft.
You know, my senior year, we played Alabama in the Orange Bowl. I threw for 340 yards in the Orange Bowl. We were down 14 points in the fourth quarter against Alabama in the Orange Bowl. We came back and won in overtime. Man, I'm going to be a second-round pick. And,
no, you're not.
You know, round 1, 2, and here we go. 6th round, pick 199. And I was like, all right. I'm going to make all those other teams pay.
Same attitude when you're doing all this platooning. Same attitude when you're 7th down the depth chart. Same thing. Just belief and hard work. It's just that simple.
But what did I learn? What did I learn? Like I said, I wasn't the prodigy. I learned about work ethic. I learned about resilience. I learned about gaining the trust and the respect of my teammates and coaches to name me captain. I learned about how to dig deep within myself, a long way from home without a ton of support for the position I was in, to still try to find a way to succeed in this situation that I really wanted to be in because it was the best for me anyway. And here I go. I get picked by the New England Patriots in the 6th round, 199. And I always joke, when they called me, they said, Tom, hey, Thomas, this is, Bill Belichick. We're, picked in the 6th round. Like, we'll see him Monday. Like, get ready to go. So to the Patriots, and there are 3 quarterbacks ahead of me. Sound familiar? So I was number 4. And Bill Belichick kept me as the 4th quarterback in my first year. Now,
so again, all living this over again. And yes, you have the understanding that, okay, it took me 5 years, but I did get to be that starting quarterback. But now this is a whole other level. And now I'm the 4th person. Most teams, I think he even says this, most teams don't keep 4 quarterbacks in the NFL.
Now, like there was just cuts the other day, they keep 2 quarterbacks most of the time on an NFL roster now. Bill Belichick saw something in me through watching me work a little bit and, watching my love for the game. All right, this kid's probably not ready to play, but, I like him. He's kind of tough and, he doesn't look that athletic, but, he throws the ball pretty well and he seems to really enjoy the game. So I'm going to keep him on the roster. And,
greatest decision Bill Belichick has ever made.
That's where my pro journey began. So that was a long answer to your question. But I think if I look at that journey from where I was as a kid to where I was as a 22-year-old, I had my parents that were.
The parents, guys. Family matters so much. I'm going to take a drink, but I talked during the sound effects.
In my life to support me every step of the way. I had my junior varsity football coaches that were there every step of the way. I had my throwing coach and mentor, Tom Martinez, there every step of the way. I went to Michigan. I had Coach Carr challenge me to say, those who stay will be champions. So I stayed. Greg Harden found a way into my life who said, don't worry about all these things that are out of your control. Focus on what you can do. Focus on the 2 reps you got.
How easy at this point would it be for him to just sit there and be like, yeah, I mean, everything they threw at me, I just handled it. That's just because I'm the best. I'm the GOAT, like LeBron would say. And, it is what it is. There ain't no way around it. I'm just going to, it don't matter who you put, what team I'm on, what teammates I have, what coach I have. I'm just the GOAT. How easy would it be for him to do that? And nobody could argue except Lefty Lucy and those who are stuck on Deflategate. What? Just kidding. But he could do that. But the humility at this point shows that, as he's telling these stories, in the way that he's telling them, it's very clear that he's not making up a story. He's not pushing a narrative. He's just talking. He's just having the conversation.
I had all my teammates that supported me. I had my sisters that supported me. It takes so many people to get to where we get in our life. Yeah, I was there doing some of the work, but couldn't have done it if I didn't have them. So when I stand up there, even sitting here today in front of you, I'm just a story like everybody else. It's all just a narrative.
Again, shout out to every single one of my subscribers. Very happy that we made it to 2K and we are still going. Fair enough. Lucy says, I'm not stuck on it. It's just you'd rather forget it. It's not that I'd rather forget it. I just think in the grand scheme of things, it just is not something that falls. Number one, doesn't fall on Tom Brady's shoulders. And number 2 is just not that big of a deal. If he'd gotten popped for BEDs, then we'd be having a different conversation. But that didn't happen. I'm just messing with you. Don't take it
You
personally.
know,
I'm
you
just
have
messing with
people in your life that are there to support you, hopefully, that are going to encourage you and challenge you every step of the way, because there's no straight line for anybody.
And that's fair enough. Lucy supports our bread and circus to me. And I used to feel the exact same way. I remember before I actually really got legitimately into politics, I used to say things like, well, if people cared as much about the country that they do about their sports ball team, then we would have a much better life. And, you know, now that everybody cares so much about politics, I don't know that we're living in a better world. And so, aside from that, I've also seen and listened and understood the value of what sports can bring to people. So, yes, to be a spectator, whatever, but to be a player anytime from high school on, there's so much value in what that teaches you, in how you have to live your life, that prepares you in a way that our education system certainly does not. It prepares you for the real world. It prepares you for hard truths that you think you're the best, but now you're fourth string. And you have to decide, okay, am I going to deal with this? And am I going to try to prove myself? Or am I going to just take my ball and go home? And I don't think that there's many places left in our society where you can get that strict competition. Even if you talk about in business, there's so much, regulatory bullshit that what else do we have? What else do we have where there's pure competition? Pure, if you are the best, you win. Pure merit. Where does that happen? And granted, fine, it's not perfect in sports, but where is it better than where it is in sports? Lucy says, yes, the greatest quarterback ever didn't know the ball was deflated. You're living on hopium. I never said he didn't know. I just said he was the one that didn't deflate them. And it was by 2 PSI. It was by 2 PSI. Do you know how much pressure that is? That's like being able to squeeze the ball like this versus being able to squeeze the ball like this. And when your hands are gigantic, it's cheating. It absolutely is cheating. It is against the rules. It is not allowed to be done. There's no arguing with that. I'm just saying that when you put that into the grand scheme of what this man particularly has done and what sports have done for men, especially at this time when men are beaten down for being men, sports is the last bastion of where men can be men, where merit matters, where hard work pays off. I mean, it's certainly not that I'd rather forget it. I will never. I mean, like I said, so if you're not familiar, the New York Jets and the New England Patriots are that's one of the biggest rivalries in all of sports, not even just the NFL, in all of sports. And so again, I spent most of the time I knew who this guy was. I hated him. But in the same way that I hated Trump. I hated Trump starting out. And I thought that his whole thing and that politics was all bread and circuses. Not the same thing. And so we could say, about the greatest quarterback didn't even know the ball was deflated. The greatest president didn't know that, his cabinet was this or that. Yeah, you absolutely can say that. Those things are absolutely true. But who's done it better? Who's done it better? That's all I'm asking.
There's not a straight line for me in this path. Kids may sit here and your kids may say, God, Tom Brady, God, he was able to win. I heard you name some great, records that I was very fortunate to be able to have over a 23-year career. All I think about is my parents. I think about my kids. I think about my family. I think about Greg. I think about my...
Let's do it. Drink up. Shout out to the family.
My best friend and body coach, Alex. I think of the people that I work with every day. So for me, I just am a representation of all these people that are coming into my life. And I felt very motivated to, I always said we play for the name on the front of our jersey was the Patriots or the Bucks, and I played for the name on the back of the jersey, which was my family and the people that encouraged me.
Based.
So that was a great...
Hell yeah.
That was a great first, 22 years of my career in my life. and I got to the Patriots, and you talked about that one moment where I said, wow, I can really do this. So think about it. I had been in all this competition at Michigan. I had Brian Greasy ahead of me lead us to a national championship. I had one of the top recruits in the country, Drew Henson, and I was staring those guys down every day. Here I come to the Patriots, and I get drafted, and I'm 4th on the depth chart, and I finally see Drew Bledsoe throw the ball for the first time. And in my very naive, competitive way, because he signed a 10-year, $100 million contract with the New England Patriots.
10 years is a long time.
When I was making $185,000, I looked at him and I go, I could throw the ball better than that.
And that belief was reality. That was not a delusion. Knowing the difference is so huge.
Which I was the only one on the field who saw that, and I wasn't, but I had a belief that I could. If I worked the same way, and if I gained the trust and respect of my teammates in the same way, that if I ever did get that position, and I told this to my best friend, who was one of my roommates in college, I said, if they ever put me on the field, they're never going to take me off the field.
I love that line. I love that line. I love that.
If they ever put me on the field, they're never going to take me off the field.
That is the kind of belief that, paired with the humility that you need. You need a high level of humility and a high level of belief in yourself. And it's a near impossible perfect balance to strike. And I don't think that, I'm not saying that he has it perfectly, but certainly, again, who has done it better? Who has done it better?
And they never did.
They never did.
Let me ask you, when's the last time, September 1st, you weren't preparing for a season? I mean, it's got to be,
32 years.
32 years.
Damn.
So here's the question. Why are you so loose? I've never seen you this loose.
Yeah.
I assume this was recorded on September 1st. Oh, okay. So, I mean, it was premiered on the 20th, but I guess maybe they're just talking in general.
Why are you so comfortable? Like I've watched a lot of your interviews. I've watched a lot of times where you're being talked to. You are like in a very comfortable, loose place. Why is this happening right now? It's kind of weird watching you.
And so, as an MMA fan, I completely understand the question of, it's just like you've dedicated so much of your life. He's 45, 46 years old, and he's spent 32 years doing this every single year. And so you see a lot of athletes in all sports, when they retire, they're just lost. They're like, what do I do now? What do I do now? I don't have, everything in my life was regimented. And so then that's why you see a lot of drug addiction and alcoholism. You see a lot of, just in general, degeneracy. And you see a lot of people, whether they have a family or not, just not doing very well without the structure that they've had for their whole lives. And so, I mean, he's only been out of the game for 1 year, 2 years? This is his first year. So, certainly we have to see how he's going to progress. But everything he's saying here seems like, despite the divorce, he's doing pretty well. Lisa says, PED science has come a long way with helping in longevity. Very true. Very true.
Do you guys understand what I'm saying or no?
For sure.
You are so just like in a very good place. What's going on with you?
So actually, let me bring this back up then, Lucy. So then, if this is what we're saying, this is the reason why Tom Brady could beat Tom Brady, is because PEDs. Why then? What is preventing every other quarterback from being Tom Brady if they're all on PEDs? And now, he started playing in the 90s. If it's come a long way, then why aren't we seeing people just very easily just bypass what Tom Brady has done? Melvin My Media said in the beginning, there is no way anyone wins like that for just one team. There's no way. Why is there no way? If it's just, you just jab yourself and you're good. I think there's an over, just too much weight put on what these PEDs can do. Absolutely. There's a reason they are banned. They absolutely help with longevity and performance and all of that stuff. We recently had, TJ Dillashaw going down from the 135-pound division to the 125-pound division, and he couldn't make it. So he was using EPO, again, the same drug that Lance Armstrong was using for the because it's an endurance thing. And so when you're I think we got a co-host. Come on up. Hey, shout out to Morty. Don't forget, every single super chat comes with a treat for Morty. But if I forgot what I was saying. What the hell was I just saying? I don't remember. Let me see if this struggles.
You are so just like in a very good place. What's going on with you?
I don't remember. Whatever I just said, I was making a good point. So follow it to its logical conclusion, and that's what I was trying to say.
Well, I think it's a lot of it's probably maturity. I think, look, when maybe you guys have seen me, on television and talking in front of, look, in the NFL, you're not up there to like narrate the story for the journalists. You're like, it's not a battle per se, but you're there to keep your strategy from anyone else,
So this is what I was saying in general, that like, I'm sure you can, I wouldn't be surprised if he's done long form interviews before. I haven't seen them, but in general, you get a lot of understanding of these players from their post game interviews, from their, special highlights, from, what they interview with Sports Illustrated and stuff. And, again, there's been pieces done on Tom Brady, but there hasn't been this long form, just him chatting. And I'm loving it. I don't know about you guys, but I'm loving it.
So I'm not up there to get into a lot of deep strategy because I feel like I was giving away things to the competition a lot. So I learned, and look, when you're in the Patriots for 20 years, like, we answered all the questions with as few words as possible. And we were not trying to give away any bit of our strategy because it was intense competition. So I just think now at this point in my life, I'm here to share as much as I've learned. Like I said, I feel like I've been so blessed. I'm so grateful for all the people that have been in my life because I couldn't have done it without all of them, all those experiences that we think are the hardest things in our life end up being the best experiences in our life, because if you approach it with humility and you look inward, they become the best opportunities for growth and learning.
And when he says something like that, I think of you guys. You guys have made me a better person than I've ever been. And I don't know how to properly express that, and I don't know what I could do to return the favor. But heartfelt, you guys definitely have made me a better man than I've ever been.
Is there a part of the reason why you may say, no, Pat, I'm always like this. You just haven't seen me because I'm doing the interviews when they're asking me the question. So what'd you think about the ball that was dropped? We all made some mistakes. I made some mistakes. We have to get back and watch the tapes, and we're going to figure out a way to get better.
Yeah.
We're looking forward to playing XYZ team this next Sunday. We have some work to do.
Yeah.
You would always like giving those answers,
for sure.
right? But were you always like this behind closed doors? And the reason why I ask is the following, because is there any anxiety when you're by yourself? You're like, shit, I'll be playing right now. I can beat that guy. I can do this. Or are you kind of like, that chapter is so done. I am fully good. I am so at peace. I am so fulfilled. I got so many other things I want to tackle. I'm done. And you're the way you are now.
Yeah, very much so. I think it's a lot like that. I feel like I did my part. I ran a lot of marathons, and it's not that I wouldn't love to still do it. I mean, I'd love to throw the football. I'm going to probably throw the football for as long as I could. But I also know that, I don't know it's a good analogy because a lot of people do run. But, man, it's great to run the first probably 4 miles of the marathon. And it's really fun to cross the finish line. But, man, those middle miles probably really stuck.
Any of you guys run like that? Do marathons or like Tough Mudder or anything like that?
And if you want to be good at those middle miles, you got to work really hard in the whole off season to prepare yourself for a real big challenge, which is the NFL season. And
again, so to draw another parallel to what we're typically talking about, the Super Bowl is maybe analogous to the general election, that, we have to do the hard work, not just on election day, but we have to do the hard work every single day so that when it comes time for we know what we know, but when it comes time for everybody to cast their vote, that we've done what we can do to make sure that we have the result as the highest likelihood that it possibly can be. We can't predict the future and we can't force people to do anything, but we absolutely can create a culture where we can expect things of people that certainly right now, there's no sense in expecting people to have this humility, to have this drive, to have this honesty, to have any of that. It's there's no incentive. I mean, the incentive is there to just live in a better society, to live in a better world. But people don't understand that. And so it's our job as the people who do understand that to get the message out before Super Bowl Sunday, aka Election Day.
You know, I have a 16-year-old son, I have a 13-year-old son and a 10-year-old girl, and you know, they've been to enough of my games. And you know,
and also kissed you on the mouth. That was really weird.
Want to be at their games, and I want to be there for them. And you know, it's a very intense season, and you know, it's just a different chapter in my life. I was the oldest guy in the league, like for the last 3 or 4 years. You know, I was like, and it's not that I didn't have the ability to still relate to those guys. I still feel like I could go out there and play at a high level, but I just
clearly,
you know, they need someone that's going to be in it year round. And I think for me, that commitment's too much because my kids need me year round too. And
the kids need you year round. So going from having a great father to being a great father, that is something that travels down the generations. When you see what it takes to be a good father, when you see what it takes to push a child to greatness, then you have a model for how to do that with your own children. And when we can all do that, it doesn't need to be the greatest in sports and the greatest and the most famous and the richest person. It just needs to be the best that they can be. When you're your best, they can be their best.
And, you know, that's the most, very important thing.
Grab it up, grab it up, grab it up.
Tom, I had our guys run some numbers here. So here's what we have. College football, players of all time. In the history of America, how many kids have played for college football? Any level of college. 5.
This is what we were talking about before. The number of people who play Pop Warner football when they're kids before they get to high school, translated to the number of people who then even make it to the NFL, to the people who start in the NFL, to the people who win one Super Bowl, to the people that win multiple. Let's see the numbers here.
Players of all time. In the history of America, how many kids have played for college football? Any level of college. 5.62 million kids have played college football.
Wow.
25,000 is NFL, which means roughly 0.0045 make it to the NFL. Out of the 25, 300 Hall of Fame. 0.012, okay?
Damn.
Then you have the guy that makes it into the All-Star game or the Pro Bowl, right? Whatever the sport is. Then you got the guy that wins a championship and is the MVP. Big
There are levels to this shit.
deal, right? Then you got the guy that does it twice or 3 times. And then you got the guy that keeps going and going and going and going and has got 7 championships and he's already worth a ton of money. There are no more accolades that this guy's got to get. And he keeps driving. So what is the mountain you have to hit for you to continue? Meaning, it's already challenging enough to play for college football.
Yeah.
How many guys play college football here? Put your hands up if you play college football.
So let's see. They don't show the crowd, but nobody in the front. This is probably what, 3 or 4 rows here? Nobody.
It's not a lot of hands, guys.
But there's some people.
Putting your hands up for college football. Okay, how many here played in the NFL or got drafted? Anybody here play in the NFL? How many hands do you see? 1 person NFL. Anyone else? No, 1 out of 3,000, right? We're talking NFL. So for you, it has to be, you know how sometimes people use this script. I'm assuming it's a script because if I had to make that decision, I'm not having this script. Well, you know, I have to go talk to my wife and our family, and we're going to take some time off and decide what we're going to do next season and come up. It's a phenomenal script that everybody uses, right? Yeah. But you know deep down inside what you're going to be doing. How you know you're like, I'm going to come back because I want to get that next one. For each next hurdle and mountain, what did it take to get you back? And was that like an evolution of making a decision? Or was like, no, man, I'm going to go because I don't know what interview it was. In one of the, if it was Edelman or if it was Walker, I think it was Edelman, where you're like, hey, man, imagine if you beat Montana with 5. It's like, this guy's not going for Montana. This guy's going for Michael for 6. He wants to have 7. Like, so
Nice.
did you know that's what you're doing to be the greatest of the greatest? Or was it a process that was an evolution?
So just for if you're not a sports ball person, then a lot of people, of course, think that Michael Jordan is the greatest athlete of all time. He won 6 championships, and Bill Belichick himself with Tom Brady got 6 Super Bowl rings. And then when Tom Brady in his last season, he went to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and won yet another ring. So he has the most accolades. When we talk about the GOAT conversation, everybody's got 6 and he's got 7.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm happy I was very long-winded to give you guys a lot of context. But to think about my high school journey and my college journey, now I get to the pros, right? And I'm the 4th quarterback my first year. And going to my second year, and I'm like, I made a lot of physical improvement, doubled down on my work ethic. Now is a professional work commitment, different than college, where college you're still an amateur. Now professionally you're a pro.
Mhm.
It's different.
It's your job. Yep, exactly.
But
It's
I
your
wanted
job.
to do extra because now I had more time. I didn't have to go to class, and I could just focus on football. So I wanted to, be a pro quarterback. So I had to work at it. And I watched Drew every game, and I learned from him. And I watched John Freeze and Michael Bishop. And in my second year, we signed Damon Heward to come in here and compete to be a backup.
It's crazy to me how well he remembers all of these names. Like, we're the average human brain, I think. Oh, what is it called? Oh, I forget what they call it, but the Dunbar. I think it's Dunbar's number, where typically you can only remember the names of 150 people. Dunbar's number. I think that's what we got. Yeah, exactly. So Dunbar, according to the British anthropologist Robin Dunbar, the magic number is 150. Dunbar became convinced that there was a ratio between brain sizes and group sizes through studies of non-human primates. And I mean, obviously, Tom Brady knows a lot more than 150 people. And obviously, these people are more important to him than a lot of others. But it shows character. It shows character. It shows humility, and it shows gratitude. And again, when we talk about, whether or not you believe in God or you believe in this, you believe in that the values that we hold are really what's important. He's showing that. So whether he cheated, whether, another argument that comes up with Tom Brady is that, he was born into a rich family and they were able to send him over here and send him over there and pay for this testing and or this training and that, which again is fair. It's not something that he worked for. It was luck that he was born into that family, but that's the way the cookie crumbles. Not every rich kid becomes Tom Brady. And so we can look for the excuses of why he maybe where he lucked out or maybe where he got a special bump where other people wouldn't have. But that's the way of the world. We can make excuses or we can deal with the world as it is.
And we signed a veteran quarterback, and here I am going as the 3rd quarterback, and I said, I'm going to compete with Damon to be the 2nd quarterback in my 2nd year. And I beat Damon out at the end of training camp. And Coach Belichick said, Tom's going to be the...
Shout out to Nika. I'm bad with names. Nick Namian over and said, Indians smell bad. Why? It's the curry. I hate curry. Sorry, unfortunately, I can't bring the kick chats up, but I got you right here. I'm with you, bro. I'm with you. When I was a kid, there was so much I was like, oh my God, please don't let girls think that I'm one of the smelly ones. Because I'm American. I was born here. I'm American AF. But I'm with you. Indian people too often smell bad. Why? Because of the damn food. Open a goddamn window. Welcome to the party, Nick. Welcome. Lucy said he did cheat. It's part of his legacy. He chose not to be the whistleblower. I mean, fair enough. I'm not arguing with you.
The backup, Damon, you're going to...
I'm not saying I'm not arguing with you like I'm brushing you off, but I'm just saying I accept that that's your position. I just, we have different positions.
be third. Drew's obviously the starter. So in the second game of the year, Drew Bledsoe got hurt. And I said, if I ever get put on that field, I'm never getting taken off the field. Mm-hmm. And Drew suffered a very typical injury, internal bleeding, in the hospital, and it was a crazy year, 2001 for all of us, 9/11. And, in my football journey, it was a crazy year. We ended up winning the Super Bowl that year, and I had an incredible team. But
that I hated. I hated the Patriots. But again, looking back, hindsight is 2020.
I learned that I was so motivated to be the best I could be that I wasn't motivated to be the starter. I wasn't motivated to win the Super Bowl. I just was motivated to give my best, do the best with the opportunity I got.
Do the best with the opportunity that you got. It doesn't get much simpler than that.
And to never let my teammates down. Those were my motivations. So
this is at the beginning, you're saying.
It's beginning and throughout. This is why people would say after, a second Super Bowl that we won, and a third Super Bowl that we won, and a fourth Super Bowl we won in 2014 against Seattle, and a fifth Super Bowl against Atlanta in 2016, and a sixth one against the Rams in 2018, and then they go to Tampa. It was the same motivation. Money didn't motivate me. Fame didn't motivate me. I didn't give a shit about any of it.
So look at people like another household name when it comes to sports for people who don't necessarily follow the sport, Conor McGregor. He was my favorite fighter for a good amount of time. He's the one who brought me into the sport. It was right around that 2013, 14, I don't remember exactly, but right when he was coming up. And there's a difference between the career of somebody like Conor McGregor, who, became double champ, made a whole bunch of money, and then kind of fell off. Versus Tom Brady, who made a lot more money, a lot more quickly, and was motivated by himself, by being the best that he could be. I just think there's value in that. I don't see a lot of that in people in general.
I always took less money because I wanted a good team around me. I didn't care about going to all these different places and doing those things. I just wanted to be my best. I wanted to go out there, and the team believed in me. I didn't want to let them down. Every year was different, just like in your business. Every year is different. You can't sit there and say, God, we had a great year. Let's just do the same. Like, you don't think everyone's watching? Yeah. The whole competition's watching, especially if you're good. So it's
True.
One level of discipline, and I think this is a lot. Like, discipline, and I would say consistent discipline has been one of those prodigy-like strengths that I had. So I didn't have the arm that could throw the ball 80 yards. I didn't have the 4.3 speed that Michael Vick had.
Shout out to Michael Vick, who was, can we at least agree? Can we at least agree that between Tom Brady and Michael Vick, who had a dogfighting ring, that would be a little bit more disqualifying to be the GOAT? Can we just agree on that? That certainly whatever Tom Brady has done, that Michael Vick did worse. Can we at least agree on that? But what is he saying? Again, it's about the same core values bring you all the way through all of these obstacles in life. So when you understand what they are, it gets much easier to find a solution because you understand what the problem is. Troubleshooting is a pain in the ass. Whether you're dealing with your computer, whether you're dealing with your dog, whether you're dealing with your kid, whether you're dealing with some IKEA thing that you brought, troubleshooting is a pain in the ass. But if you understand what the problem is, then you can just get right to what is the best solution.
I didn't have the size that a lot of guys had, but I did have something inside of me that no one could see from the outside, this level of discipline that I could accomplish something that was really important and really special. But not let it get to my head. And not to think that I've arrived or to think that I'm something different or better than anyone else.
But you are, though. But it's good that you don't think that.
I just thought, man, We put our mind to it. We accomplished something incredible as a team. Let's go do that again. Wasn't that unbelievable? Yeah. And the good part in football is
I'm getting riled up just listening to him. I don't even play. I'm getting riled up. I'm getting ready to go. Let's do this.
the next year you start right back at the bottom. You don't start as Super Bowl champ. Kansas City Chiefs, they're not the Super Bowl champs this year. They were the Super Bowl champs last year.
Oh, yeah. So Vic, V-I-C-K, like Vic's the vapor rub, but just one. Yeah, a guy from Atlanta, and he was out of the league for a number of years while he was in jail because he was running a dogfighting ring. And then he came back, and everybody was all about it. We have Ray Rice, who there's video of him knocking out his girlfriend in an elevator and then dragging her out of the elevator. I mean, there's a lot that goes on. And so I understand in a vacuum looking at, oh, he used a deflated football. I understand that. I get it. But we're talking about the NFL here. And so when it comes to using a deflated football, when it comes to football players, that is so far down the list of what, where we would really consider a character flaw. That it's just like that. I see that now as part of the game. If you can get away with that, then hey, go for it. If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying.
And nobody could take that away from them. That is theirs forever. They have a banner, they have a ring. It's great, but it doesn't mean anything for this year. And that's the challenge of sports. That's the challenge we all face. That's the level of discipline. I became very disciplined with my body through this guy who I met along the way. His name's Alex Guerrero for the last 21 years, my best friend, body coach, mentor, everything. I owe so much of my success to him. And, we just learned how to treat my body a certain way so that I could optimize my physical performance. I could do things outside of the box because I needed my body to feel good. It was my asset. If my body started to deteriorate, I couldn't throw the ball the way that I wanted. So a lot of people, a lot of people can be really consistent, let's say with your diet, because it's always on people's mind. Like, I want to get healthy. Most people could say, man, I want to eat healthy for one day, or I want to exercise for one day, or I want to be more hydrated for one day.
So now we're getting into his regimen about how at 45 years old, he could be the best quarterback in the league. So we got a new poll. The previous poll, do you respect Tom Brady's career? We have 75% people saying yes, and 25 saying no. And this, as we're listening, does this seem like a reasonable thing? Understanding that it's very clear. If you're watching Tom Brady try to run and do, get out of the way, he is a slow guy. I would think that if you're going to use these types of drugs, that you would use them in the areas that are going to help that you're lacking. But again, I don't know. I don't know one way or the other. I'm not taking a stance. I'm just saying, what do you guys think? Did Tom Brady use PEDs? Let me know in the comments below.
Well, can you do it for a week? Well, that's more discipline, right?
This is exactly what I talked to you guys about with my issues with working out and treating my body right, is that the discipline. I don't have the discipline. I don't have the discipline to do anything regularly. I told you guys before this show, before I was the Indian Jesus, there was, other than work and school, there was nothing that I just decided to make part of my routine, to make something that I have to do. But I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's just that I love hanging out with you guys. I don't know if it's that I feel how important this message is. Whatever it is, it keeps bringing me back. And so perhaps more important than just having discipline is creating the opportunities for yourself that are best aligned with what you can already do and what you already want to do. And I mean, for Tom Brady, it's football. For me, it's talking to you guys. And again, guys, we have only just begun. I am right now in the stage where Tom Brady was as the 7th string quarterback And by the time it's all over, I am going to be sitting on that stage as well. Hey, shout out to Daniel Cabrera. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We also got Zippy the Strange in the building. Welcome, 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 guys. Always good to see ya. How we doing? How we doing?
Can you do it for a month? That's more discipline. Can you do it for a year? That's even more discipline.
Can you do it for 32 years? That's discipline.
So I was so blessed to have this discipline over a really long period of time. And to be honest, people will say now, oh, come on, Tom, don't you go out there and just have whatever you want now that you're done playing? And I'm like, no, man, this is still my asset.
Oh, no. Shout out to the child sickness. I know how those kids will get you sick over and over and over again. Hope you are feeling all right, brother. Good to see you. Glad you are here. Hope you are feeling better soon.
This is still my body. Look at what we dealt with at COVID 3 years ago. That can withstand the traumas that it's going to be faced with. And in football, it's faced every week. You're getting a car crash every single week. So how do I develop a body proactively? How do I think about my health and wellness proactively? So I don't find myself in the surgeon office at the end of the year. So I don't find myself as a 50-year-old former athlete who needs a knee replacement. So those were really important steps on my journey, because when I began to understand how to throw the ball better, when I began to understand through Coach Belichick how to study the game more and to be a real student of the game, right? There's only a certain lifespan for athletes. Everyone thinks, oh, as an athlete, you just have to basically maintain this level until your body completely deteriorates. Well, and I tried.
And that's usually how athletes go. They'll just grind their body into the ground to get this legacy. And then they have the legacy, but they don't have a life after sports. And especially in these type of sports where there's heavy physical contact, whether it's football, or MMA, rugby, stuff like that. It's so crazy. It's so crazy how hard these people are willing to go, understanding that CTE is a thing. And they're just like, I'm dedicated. I'm doing this. Shout out to Zippy DSM Lee. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the party. Much appreciated. Much appreciated.
To prove to everybody, guys, it doesn't have to be like that. You just got to make good choices every day, as good as possible. And I still get people that go, how did you do it? And I'm like, I wrote a freaking book. I literally wrote a book. Buy the book. I mean, not to buy it from me, but buy it because it's good knowledge. Like go.
I might be interested in that book after this.
Out there, I'm trying to give you answers to the test. This is a lot of athletes want to maximize their potential, maximize their opportunity. You guys want to maximize the potential and opportunity you have in your business. Well, that's a lot. That's a lot of consistent discipline. It doesn't mean that you can have one good month. It means that you got to do a lot more right than wrong. It means
you got to do a lot more right than wrong. So that brings us right back to our poll here. 100% of you said yes, you think that Brady used PEDs. So then I want to ask a related question. What percentage of NFL players do you think use PEDs? Let's just do over 50% or under 50%. Let's see where that gets us. Because that is absolutely, definitely relevant.
It means you got to make a lot more good choices than bad choices. It means you have to be more disciplined than not disciplined. It means you have to surround your people with very smart people, not people that are going to help you think less. You got to challenge yourself, not challenge yourself less. So we're all faced with those decisions every day, and you get the opportunity, just like I had the opportunity, to choose. What do you want? What are your goals? What are your priorities? What do you guys want to achieve? You guys are sitting here as entrepreneurs, CEOs, leaders, running business, running families. What's the choice you get to make every day to wake up and say, all right, this is where I'm going to focus my time and energy? How disciplined are you to maintain that routine over a period of time? And I think...
Well, before he goes into that, I think the difference for people like him who just have that innate drive, whether he was born with it, whether it was instilled so young that he never thought of life in a different way than being disciplined. I certainly did not live my life that way. I certainly did not build that. And some of you might have that more natural ability to be disciplined and set your mind to something and say, okay, I'm going to do it. But some of you might be a little bit more like me, where you have to find what works for you. Either way, it comes back to that same idea of awareness of where is the belief in yourself versus the humility to understand the reality. Daniel says, if Lance Armstrong can figure out how to do it for over a decade, how am I supposed to think the NFL is any better? Well, I mean, again, so we're up at 100% of you saying at least half or over half. And so if that's the case, Lucy says in the 90th percentile, then that kind of destroys the notion that Tom Brady did anything wrong in the context of being a football player. If they're all doing it, then he's still better than all the other people who are doing it. So we don't have to say, oh, great job, you did PEDs. But we can say, despite the fact that you did PEDs, just like all these other people who also cheated, you still found a way to be better than all the other juiced up players. It is what it is. Zippy says, as the quote says, life begins outside your comfort zone. Zippy has not lived much. Then again, my comfort zone is so small. Have I lived too much? Zippy's confused. Well, there's only one way to find out, is to go and do something new, do something you haven't done before, and understand the discomfort of being outside of your comfort zone. And then you'll be able to tell, oh, this is clearly outside of my comfort zone. I don't like this. But if it's something good for you, you can learn to like it. With what? With discipline. Meltamine Media says, oh, where is it? We need a steroid league for all sports. I agree. I think if these people are going to dedicate their lives to entertaining us with I'm trying to find a way to say this without making it sound like P-Hub stuff. But if they're going to find a way to dedicate their lives to entertaining us with their bodies in a family-friendly way, then, and we're talking about people at 50 years old who have no life and CTE and needing knee replacements and all this stuff. Why not? Why not? Let's let people make the choices that they want to make. Certainly adults. Yeah, if they're willing, let them. Lucy said he's a brand and protected by his teams, refs, and NFL managers and CEOs. It's sports entertainment. It's a big show. Again, I don't necessarily disagree with you, but like as much as I feel like you're saying that I am just throwing away the notion that he may or may not have used PEDs. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying if you are saying that 90% of the people who do this thing, and he is still the best of all those people, then I don't understand what I'm not saying that you have to live your life exactly the way that he did. We're talking about the values that he's espousing on how he lived his life. I'm just confused as to why that is such a sticking point. And Daniel brought up Lance Armstrong, and again, nobody's been able to. 18, number 18, the last Tour de France, where he told on himself. He didn't get popped. He told on himself, and they had to go 18 places down the winners to actually crown somebody. So unless you think that number 18 person who was not on PEDs would be better than Lance Armstrong, also not on PEDs, then you don't have an argument. And if you do think that's what it is, then you don't understand what these drugs do. That's just that's just a long and short of it. The WWE wrestler. I mean, it sounds like I definitely understand as an MMA fan that specifically the UFC is a very heavy mix of entertainment as well as sheer sport. That I understand. Not maybe not quite as bad as WWE, but sports like football, basketball, baseball, hockey, these major sports, to think that there's such a grand conspiracy when the natural way that it would play out if you didn't have, brands and teams and this, the way that it would naturally play out if it was all above board would already be interesting enough to us. It doesn't make sense to me. Daniel said, well, I got to be family friendly. If Troy Polamalu wants to whip out his willy and entertain the crowd, oh, well, no. If we're not taking kids to Drag Queen Story Hour, Polamalu can play with his hair, but he can't play with his dick. All right? I'm sorry. We got to be consistent across the board. Hell no. Keep your willy in your pants, please.
That will determine your level of success.
Fantastic. Tom. But the question I ask is, why do it? Meaning, is it a vision you're solving for? Is it like yourself? Hey, vision, in order for me to be able to play for XYZ years, and I got to be healthier. I got to be pliability. I got to be more flexible because I'm shooting for a goal or I'm shooting for a vision. Or it's just, I got to be ready for this year. I have a hard time believing that it's just for 1 year. Was there a vision for you to say, if I'm going to be the best of all time, I'm going to need to make sure I take care of my health, I take care of your mind, I minimize the amount of distractions? Were you solving for a vision, or was it just one season at a time?
It was one season at a time. And I'll say this, I never once in my life ever said I wanted to be the best of all time.
LeBron James did. He's like, well, yeah, I'm the greatest, right? I'm the greatest, right? And he has that physical, genetic freak aspect to him. When you don't have that, when you know, and I'm not saying LeBron James doesn't work hard. Obviously, you get just like what Brady is talking about here for football. There's a lot that you have to keep up with to be at the top of the game for as long as LeBron has been. But the mentality is very different.
I wanted to be the best I could be, period.
Period.
That's all I wanted. I learned that in college. It didn't matter what the other guys were doing.
Ooh, you said a curse word.
Powerful.
It mattered what I was doing.
Powerful.
I had to look in the mirror every night. I had a, for different reasons. Last year was a hard year for me, one of the hardest in my life. And I printed out the man in the glass, the big poster, and I put it on my mirror in the bathroom, and I looked at it every single day. And I said,
is that a thing? A man in the glass poster? Oh. Glass poster. Okay, what do we got here? Give me images. This one looks easy to read. I bet you it's going to be tiny. It's going to be tiny. They always give me tiny. Okay, cool. So let's see. The man in the glass. When you get what you want in your struggle for self, and the world makes you king for a day, then go to the mirror and look at yourself and see what that man has to say. For it isn't a man's father, mother, or wife whose judgment upon him must pass. The fellow whose verdict counts most in life is the man staring back from the glass. He's a fellow to please, never mind all the rest, for he's with you clear to the end. If you pass your most dangerous, difficult test, if the man in the glass is your friend, you can fool the whole world down the pathway of years and get pats on the back as you pass, but the final reward will be the headache and tears if you've cheated the man in the glass. I love that. I love that. That's from what? Peter Dale Wimbrow Sr. Shout out. That's a good one. I like that a lot. I might have to figure out a way to bring that into my life. No? Nobody likes it? All right.
Proud of the man in the glass. Be proud of that man that wakes up every day and does the best that he could do with his priorities, and a lot of things happen in our life. You know, we all face our challenges and adversities, and we all go through things. And I think life is about dealing with a lot of things that you didn't want to have happen in your life, whether it's your business or whether it's sports or whether it's personal or, you know, children. And like I said, we all have our unique challenges.
Exactly. That is why I want, despite the fact that none of us are likely to ever be NFL quarterbacks, what he's saying right now is still extremely relevant to our lives and how we should be able to look at life. I can't express the value of being able to hear from these people who have achieved greatness. And again, we can, whether you want to disqualify his entire career because of your speculation, or you want to throw away the value of what he's done over the last 32 years because somebody else deflated footballs, you're free to do that. But I'm telling you, if that's what you focus on, and you're not listening to what the words the man is saying and taking them for what they are, I don't think that's serving you the best way. But to each their own. To each their own.
But do the best you can do. Show up every day and make the commitment to yourself and the people that count on you, the people that you support you. And through a lot of failures, you're going to learn a lot, and you're going to hopefully be.
Guys, come on. 100% of you saying it's impossible. Like, now I know that your opinions are invalid, because if you don't know, it's not impossible. That was a test, and you all failed.
Be humbled, because sometimes, you know, you give your best and it doesn't work. And I learned that in sports, and you learn it in life in different ways too. Sometimes you do what you do, you try your best, you work hard, but it just doesn't in the end go the way you want. So what are you going to do? Quit? You're going to just blame everyone else?
That's what a lot of people seem to do these days.
You're going to go in there and blame the guy next door and blame that person and blame the dog and go out there and sleep until 10 o'clock? Or are you going to get...
I mean, sleeping until 10 o'clock ain't that bad.
Out of bed, wake up and go do something about it. Learn from it and make it better.
So, style of leadership, right? Some of these guys here, they run the business, so they're the CEO. They're the owner of the company, and they have a right-hand person, right? So let's just say the CEO is Kraft. He's dealing with the coach, and then the coach has the best salesperson or the best engineer. These are different dynamics with relationships. What was your style of leadership? Meaning, leadership, we talked about it earlier today, is one, hey, you lead by example, right? But that's not enough. Sometimes you lead by example, you're quiet, you're like, you don't say anything. Well, you got to do more than just lead by example.
Yeah.
You got to get other people to do things they typically wouldn't do on their own.
Facts. Leading by example is an amazing first step, is an important first step. You absolutely have to live the message. You have to be the change you want to see in the world, as Gandhi said. But that's not always enough. Zibby says, there are many things that are natural PEDs that are not covered under the illegal ones. Right, but we were, you know, we're okay. I mean, really, we're talking about we're talking about sports and banned substances. You're really thinking we're talking about again, like caffeine and stuff? Come on, don't cope. Lucy said he's giving an interview about his sports career in a reality where PEDs don't exist. How is it that helpful for kids? He doesn't even advise kids to avoid them. This is not an honest interview. Wow. I just have a very, very, very different perspective of all this. Like, so, I mean, I'm just blown away. I'm blown away that you could hear from somebody who is, regardless of by what means, you live in a different country. You don't follow the sport, yet you know about his life. I mean, I'm fair enough. I think that's ridiculous to just, we don't have to listen to this guy. He did a thing once that I think that hasn't been proven. That's crazy. Daniel said, on top of that, he might not have used drugs, but does anybody remember Deflategate? Yeah, that's what we were talking about. And what did Lucy say about like, is this the flat football guy? Like, yes, that happened. But again, it's not like he personally was like, shh, no, deflate these balls by 2 psi so that I can win. Because if I don't have those psi, if the ball goes from here to here, I'm gonna lose. I can't do it. I'm not gonna be able to do it. I need it to be from here to here. I need to do it. That is such a ridiculous way to look at the world, and it's such a sad thing to see. Again, as a Jets fan, he is only one of 2 people that I've ever hated, along with Anthony Fauci. And to just say that this is useless, I mean, that's crazy. Zippy says, I do not think he's saying just anyone should use hard PEDs. I mean, how many doctors did he have? Yeah. I didn't say it didn't make a difference. I said it wasn't I'm saying that it's not you're making it seem like if the balls were, do you know what 2 PSI is? Like, you wouldn't even notice if you're not even, forget your car. If your bicycle tires were low by 2 psi, you would not even think to notice it. And so I'm not saying it didn't make a difference. What I'm saying is that in the grand scheme of the entirety of this man's life, one thing that he did not choose and he did not do, there's no evidence that he even knew that the balls were deflated. There's no evidence to that at all. This is crazy to me that you're just sticking everything on it. But I mean, I guess that's reality, right? Like, you do one little thing, you're not perfect, and people who have achieved way less than you, who have no chance of being the stature that you are, will think of you as the worst thing that you didn't even do. The worst thing that you didn't even do. He never cheated on anybody in his relationships. He never got never got a DUI. He never got, I mean, it's just insane to me. And I mean, I can understand a little bit if you're like, if you're super religious and you're comparing everybody to your idea of Jesus. Okay, that makes sense. But let he who is without sin cast the first stone. I mean, come on. Where are we here?
Well, you got to do more than just lead by example.
Yeah.
You got to get other people to do things they typically wouldn't do on their own. What style of leader were you?
Yeah.
So if I'm a guy that I'm like, hey, man, I don't want to play anymore. I got 2 more years. I want to.
Okay. Again, though, if a cheat is a cheat, then he's a cheat. So does it mean that somebody who's cheated on something or taken a shortcut mean that they're a bad person and all the accomplishments that they have mean nothing? You've never cheated or taken a shortcut on anything in your entire life? Okay, if you say so. Zibby says, yeah, lower high PSI is hard to tell. I have to check my mower tires every time I mow. At best, PEDs just keep you more in shape for an extra decade if you got the doctors to guide you. Yeah, I mean, exactly. I am not at all saying that people are not cheating in sports. I'm not at all saying that it's impossible that he used these things. I'm saying that, number one, when it comes to Deflategate, he was not the person to deflate the footballs. There's no reason to believe that he knew that those balls were deflated. There's no evidence or reason to believe that he knew that. In fact, it would make a lot more sense for plausible deniability that Bill Belichick and the team behind, let's give him plausible deniability so in case we get caught, then he really didn't know. That makes infinitely more sense than Tom Brady going secretly, I'm going to deflate these balls because I'm so bad at football. Remember, this was like 2016 or something, after he had already had 5 Super Bowl rings. Fact check the numbers there. But he'd already won the Super Bowl multiple times. So to act like he would think, or anybody else would think, that he can't win without doing these, it's just not how the world works. It's just not how the world works. It means they could cheat other ways and shouldn't be trusted. Well, fine. So don't let them into your house and say that, just don't let them into your house and like, that's not what we're doing here. That's not what we're doing here. I'm not making it sound like anything. I'm not making it sound like anything. I'm saying there is no reason to believe that Tom Brady was aware of the fact that the balls were deflated. What is the reasoning to think that he knew? The only argument that you have is that he's so familiar with the football from all of his years of winning that he can tell the difference between 2 PSI. Which destroys your argument, because before that, he was already the best quarterback in the world. I'm with Zippy. Where were we?
Style of leader were you?
Yeah.
So if
What
I'm a guy
style
that I'm
of
like,
leader?
hey man, I don't want to play anymore. I got 2 more years. I want to get my check. I want to go to a different team, get my big contract, and I'm done. How are you talking to me there? How are you enrolling me into me giving my best? Are you asking questions? Are you kicking my ass? Are you taking me out to dinner? Are you telling me come over to the house? What was, obviously, from the people that we've spoken, anybody we've talked that's been a teammate, Tom, I've interviewed a lot of people that are athletes. I don't know how many guys that were the GOATs, their teammates, freaking everybody loved them. Dude, people love you. Like, teammates loved running with you.
And again, what did we talk about earlier about people? You have to have the right. You can't just be. He has earned the right to sit there and be like, oh, yep, I'm the best. Yeah, I mean, other people, I have good people around me, but it's me. It's all me. He could do that, but he doesn't. And that attitude, that mentality of humility is exactly what translates to all the teammates. While he is the captain, he is the guy getting all the fame. He's getting all the money. And all these guys are getting 1 or 2 plays here. They might not get the ball for the whole game, the whole quarter, whatever. And yet all of them love him. I mean, if all that means nothing, then that's a bad sign. That's a bad sign if we don't care about what other people think of our leaders.
You played 3 different careers. You didn't have one career. You were one of those guys that had 3 careers that you played.
Yeah.
But what was your style where you kicked their ass, you challenged them, yet you believed in them? What was the method of you driving your guys?
Great question.
So a lot of it, it's a great question. I think that, and this is another probably very, very important thing in my mind, is in terms of leadership, is how you relate to the people that you work with. And my vision of a relationship comes down to one word: caring.
Caring.
Do you care about the other person? And do you collectively care about what you're trying to achieve?
So let's try this from a different angle. Does the fact that let's accept that likely he used some type of illegal substances throughout the years. Let's just take that for the sake of argument. If that's true, does that change the notion that what you do collectively, what you collectively care about and what you're trying to achieve as a team, is that no longer a valuable message? I think it still is.
The only way people are going to feel that they can trust you is if you care about them. So if you just see them as a transactional relationship, oh, you're just here for this time being, well, that's all they're going to give you.
Yep.
But I felt like I need to connect. Especially as I got older, I got to connect with the young players. I need a relationship. I need the ability to relate to them. They need to trust me. I need to trust them. We need to be vulnerable to one another. I need to care for them.
Yeah, that's stupid because you cheated.
So before I could yell at them, which believe me, I yelled at a lot of people, the relationships I had with my teammates, I played with guys from all over the country, every background, every college, and man, I got to be just me.
You were Jets or Bills or what's the other team? I don't even remember anymore. But are you a fan of one of the teams in the division? Come on, man.
Like, people you would think, oh man, you're treated a certain way, which when you outside of a building, people know you, they see you on TV, they treat you a certain way. When you're in the building, man, you're just another guy. You're like, my son went to camp for 3 weeks, sleepaway camp, and there's no electronics, and this is up in Maine this year. There's no electronics. They sleep in like this log cabin.
Good parenting. Good parenting. Get that kid away from the screen and into nature. Touch grass.
Swim in the lake every morning. They eat in the cafeteria. And I drive away last year, and I'm like, we all need more of that.
Facts.
And then about 5 minutes later, I was like, well, I do live that life. I'm still a football player. We're all in this building where we're eating in a cafeteria. We're getting MF'd by our coach. We're showering in the same spot. It's an all community. So this ability to have this relationship with so many people is been a great part of my life. And I think my ability to relate to them, care about them, they felt like, well, if Tom, why should Tom care about me? And I'm like, dude, because you're my teammate.
Yeah, but he cheated, so who cares?
I know, Tom, but you've already won 6 Super Bowls.
By cheating, so it doesn't count.
I'm like, I don't give it. Like, we have this year. This is the year, my first year in Tampa. I don't care what I did. Like, I look at those things one day and I'm like, oh, that's great. Someone's going to say it. But this is the moment right now. Let's get to work. Let's get to know who you are. Let's get to know you. Let's make the most out of your career.
So that's not something that you should pull into your life because he may or may not have cheated. That's the point that I'm making here. We all the time, every single time we talk about a controversial person, what is the message? Or what is my message? To separate the man from the message. That people who aren't the best people might sometimes have something to say that's very, very, very valuable. Mrs. Swindan said, I don't care if you cheat in checkers, solitaire, golf, video games. You are a fucking cheat. You're not to be trusted. If you're willing to cheat in a game, how are you not willing to cheat at life? Fair enough.
Look, my career is great. But I want the best for your career too. And if it's going to be your best career, you need me to be good. And I need you to be good. So let's work together. Because every year those things change.
Dan says, you're fucking right. It doesn't. He has no honor. Who were you to tell me about Evan honor when you have none? F that. This is not how I expected this show to go. All right. Well, I don't know what to say, guys. It's this is really disappointing. I'm not disagreeing with you that the guy is cheated, but the whole message has been missed here. The whole message has been missed. I'm deciding whether to continue. I don't want to waste anybody's time. Shout out to the replay gang. Hopefully there's people out there who love or hate Tom Brady. You can see the value of listening to a man like that speak.
Was it you know how you get a person that comes in.
Hey, shout out to Indyville. Welcome to the party. Thank you. It says, stay the course. Don't plan on changing courses anytime soon. Zuby said, absolutists are silly-headed. Agreed.
And you sell them on the culture. Here's what we're all about. So, leader, I'm going to sell you. Here's why we do this. Here's why you accept high standards. Here's why you get up and do your. Here's why you watch the tape. Here's why you take care of your health. Here's why you get. Because if we do this at the end of the season, we got a chance at winning a championship and being the best. Okay? Or is it more the pure pressure of the culture? You either fit the culture or you're not going to want to be around this culture, so you filter yourself out. Which was more the model at specifically more under Belichick and yourself in New England? Was it more selling the culture to the player, or was it more, no, man, this is our culture. Either adjust or I'm sorry, it's not going to work out.
So I'm going to run that back real quick because that is directly relevant to our political stuff. Culture is what we talk about nonstop. I'm gonna run that back real quick. But and he said, any film said, I neither love him nor hate him, but open to listening. Well, it seems you and I are on an island. You and I are on an island because somebody else deflated some footballs, and they have everybody else has decided without any evidence that Tom Brady is has been using banned substances. So the value of his message is gone to zero. Bonzig says Deion Sanders for the win. I'm pretty sure he got popped multiple times. Did he not? How do you spell it? D-E-I. Why is the enter button not working? Enter. Enter. No? All right. I guess okay. So if Deion Sanders was in this seat right here and saying exactly the same thing that Tom Brady was saying, would it be more or less valuable? Let's make that an official poll. If this was, we're just going to put DS for Deion Sanders, would it be more or less valuable? More or less? Just curious.
I think it's a great question, and it's like it's.
Oh yeah. I want to run that back because what he's asking is so relevant to this channel.
You're best, okay? Or is it more all about? So, leader, I'm going to sell you. Here's why we do this. Here's why you accept high standards. Here's why you get up and do your. Here's why you watch the tape. Here's why you take care of your health. Here's why you get. Because if we do this at the end of the season, we got a chance at winning a championship and being the best, okay? Or is it more the pure pressure of the culture? You either fit the culture or you're not going to.
And just so we're clear, we did just Google Deion Sanders PEDs and nothing came up. So I don't know for sure, but based on that information, we're going on the fact that Deion Sanders was not a cheat.
I want to be around this culture, so you filter yourself out. Which was more the model at specifically more under Belichick and yourself in New England? Was it more selling the culture to the player, or was it more, no, man, this is our culture. Either adjust or I'm sorry, it's not going to work out.
I think it's a great question, and it's like it's hard to develop culture, right? Because
it is hard to develop culture. That is exactly why we need to put so much effort into it. And so is it that, hey, we are together going to build this, or is it better to have a culture developed and say, hey, this is the way things are. You either fit in or fuck off. Shout out to I remember his name. Brandon Hart. There we go. Fit in or fuck out. Fit in or fuck off. Daniel says the amount of American sports stars who have been caught cheating in one way, shape, or form, I trust none of them. Okay, but I don't. Fair enough. Lucy says the same. So then why are we talking about it? What is the relevance of him cheating if it doesn't change whether we have a cheater or a not cheater? This is exactly my point, that we're paying attention to the message. Why are you getting bogged down on something that happened 10 years ago when there's somebody who has a great success by whatever means sitting in front of you telling you how they came to be so successful? What kind of mindset do they use? Does Deion Sanders do as much outreach? Well, that's irrelevant to the question. I don't know, but that's irrelevant to the question because I'm asking about this particular interview. If it was this particular interview and he was in all the words that we heard, instead of coming out of Tom Brady's mouth, came out of Deion Sanders' mouth, we have Lucy saying the same and one person saying less. What? I don't know how it would be less valuable from Deion Sanders, except for the fact that he is not as great in terms of football stats as Deion Sanders. So I'm very confused. Yeah. Yeah, so Tiger Woods cheats on his wife, so he has no idea about being great. He doesn't have any idea of what it takes to accomplish things. He doesn't know anything about being successful. I think you guys are misunderstanding the entire point of this. Well, I don't know how you guys can get it when we do Andrew Tate, when we do Destiny, when we do Trump. Specifically, I've said, yeah, you know, these are not the type of people that I would want to model my life after necessarily. But not everybody who says the right things is going to be a perfect little angel in your eyes. And if you're only going to listen to people who are perfect, then you will have no one. You will only be listening to people who are better at hiding their bullshit than those who the bullshit that you know about. Zippy said, trust them with what? If he's saying the right things, then it's fine. I mean, with that dogmatic thinking, then Indian Juice is just a Democrat zombie since he voted for Hillary. Yeah, I mean, that's a great point. What the fuck are you doing here watching somebody who voted for Hillary? What are you doing? You're ruining your life. Once a Hillary voter, always a Hillary voter, right? I just don't get the logic. I don't get the logic. He's obviously not going to address. That's not what this is about. This is about the entirety of his career. And he didn't. It's not. You just okay. I mean, I'm not to be a fair, like this is the only thing you know about him. So if this was the only thing that we knew about you, and somebody in a team sport, somebody else cheated and put something in your hand, and you never got popped for banned substances, despite the fact that we think most people in that sport did, would it be reasonable? Would it be reasonable for us to say that everything that you have to say is invaluable? Of course not. No, there we go. I mean, it's like, I don't know what world you guys think we're living in, but people who are successful aren't always the nicest people. There's a difference between looking up to somebody for their success and their value to what they can teach you about your own life in terms of success, and what these people can teach you in terms of values and how you want to bring them personally, and you maybe want to emulate them personally. There's a thin line there, but I feel like I have gravely failed at showing you the difference. I guess I got my work cut out for me.
That's a word that's thrown around a lot. And I think that's has to do with like values of the company. But in the end, what does culture mean to me? Do we care about each other? And do we care about what we're trying to accomplish?
Do we care about each other, or do we care about what we're trying to accomplish? Does cheating change that message in any way? Is that message, if you put that message into your heart, is that message any lesser because of the person that you heard it from is not Jesus Christ? Oh yeah, so then it was number 18. It was number 18. If you were talking about Lance Armstrong, you're close. I believe it was 18. But yeah, I mean, this is what we're talking about. We're not. I'm not here saying you should be exactly like this person. You should be exactly like that person. You should be exactly like this person. You should be exactly like this person. You should be exactly like me. That's not what this channel is about, guys. That's not what my message has ever been. I'm just very confused as to how we got here. All right, well.
Most people just...
Exactly, Zippy. It seems they're hung up on the one thing. Like when a politician speaks as a guest on a show, it doesn't matter what they say. They're proven otherwise. But Brady is a different scenario. Why? Why? Politicians do a lot worse than use balls that they did not know were deflated. Like, what are we talking about? The lack of consistency is leaving a bad taste in my mouth. There are many Bradys to look up to. I mean, yeah, if you can understand the difference between being them and extracting from them what good ideas have helped them in their life. As he said, Brady has proven he is more than a baller. Absolutely. Family man. It just, I expected some like intra football, like, oh, I'm a Jets fan, I'm a Bills fan, I'm that other team. I think it's is it the Redskins? I forget what other team is in that division. Let's move on.
Care about themselves.
Let's run that back.
Being thrown around a lot, and I think has to do with like values of the company. But in the end, what does culture mean to me? Do we care about each other, and do we care about what we're trying to accomplish? Most people just care about themselves.
Bingo.
And you just care about your own personal situation, my coworker, what the mission is, not the owner usually doesn't think like that because this is his business.
Yep.
But the more you give people the opportunity to have ownership of that culture, the better. And I look at some great cultures over the years, like, sports are kind of easy, somewhat easy,
Sure.
But even like the culture of like, and the armed forces, our military, like you show up to the Naval Academy, like, man, that's a culture. Like, and people are accountable to that. They show up every day. They show up on time. They respect each other. Everyone's probably got different tenets that they believe in, but the fundamental belief.
Everybody's probably got different tenets that they believe in, but because they have a culture, they come together, they care about each other, and they care about what they're trying to accomplish. That message doesn't matter because of 2 PSI? The fuck are you talking about? Zibby said, I'm not a sports fan. I have a mild interest in golf and archery due to the physics, though ball games are fun to watch when it's snowing. True. Yeah, I used to be a huge football fan, but once I got into MMA, then it's like the level of entertainment is just so much higher. There's not the drama of the stories of the individual people as much as MMA, and a lot of people appreciate that about more traditional sports. But I like I like to attach myself to characters. I like to see myself in characters, and with the WWE, it's so obviously bullshit. And with specific with the UFC, there's definitely it may not be completely or not, let me not say it may not. It's definitely not like just completely organic. But when I can't tell the difference, that's good enough. I know every movie that I watch has been scripted. That doesn't change the fact that I can enjoy the movie for the story and the characters. It just has to be believable.
Belief is I'm giving myself to something greater than myself. I'm giving myself something greater than me as an individual, because it
sounds like he's talking about religion without talking about religion, talking about the values that religious or not religious, we all agree upon. Let's see. Is this something that I say all the time?
Fundamental belief is I'm giving myself to something greater than myself. I'm giving myself something greater than me as an individual, because it's going to pay off in ways that nothing in life can be accomplished in a big way without teamwork.
Bingo.
Teamwork.
And exactly what I was saying before when he was talking about his teammates. He wasn't talking about life. He was talking about getting the win in a football game. But when you can understand that these things flow through the through line in anything through life. Exactly. You put those 10,000 hours into anything, whether it's, being on camera, whether it's playing football, whether it's selling cars, whether it's whatever it is. This is what we're talking about. Not what Tom Brady specifically did or said 10 years ago. Zibby says, wrestling is a strange combination of athleticism, acting, and performance art. It's wacky silliness. Yeah, and I completely agree. And I definitely have respect for the level of athleticism that professional wrestlers have. But When it comes to the acting and the performance art, it just doesn't cut it. It doesn't cut it. I would rather watch She-Hulk than watch WWE.
Work is what it's all about. You show up every day, you play your role, you do your best, and then you communicate about it. And then you have people that hold you accountable to the results. And if the results aren't good enough, then you re-strategize or you get rid of some people and you move on. So I think what we are fortunate enough to develop over an early period of time in New England was a culture of a lot of teammates that may not have been the best like myself, but we cared a lot. We worked really hard. We were
caring a lot and working hard. What that can accomplish has virtually no end. If you take nothing away from this show that I'm doing for you, then take that. There is nothing that you can't accomplish, anything reasonable, as long as you go about it the right way.
We were really coachable, and we won. And then some other players were like, dude, that's what I want. I want to win.
Right. If you really want it.
Joined our program. So then we had, which is really important, you need people that drive the culture because it just can't be you. Because when you turn your back to focus on what you got to do, you need other people driving the culture too. And we developed a culture of culture drivers. Willie McGinnis, Teddy.
So let me just ask you directly, Lucy. Do you think that this man is saying anything of value? Just straight up, yes or no question. Is he saying anything of value? That's what I'm interested in. So because, I mean, wrestling is targeted at younger demographics. So like modern cartoons, they kind of gave up on the script a couple of decades ago. Well, yeah, but I mean, that's regardless of when it was, there was a time when I was a kid and I thought it to be real. That time has passed. And so I there's a lot of people who are adults who are into wrestling. You know, whoever just picked WWE on this. But I don't get it. I don't get it. You guys have got me. You guys have got me fucked up.
Brewski, Mike Vrabel, Troy Brown, Wes Welker, Kevin Falk, Matt Light, all these guys that. It was inherent to what the team ultimately ended up becoming.
Yeah, but, you know, giving credit to the people who allowed you to become great is a useless message because you did a thing once.
We all drove the culture, and then no one was going to fuck it up. So you got some people that came in from other places, and, man, they might have had...
No, Lucy, wrong. This is not at all realistic. As somebody who has admitted that they don't know about football, they don't know about Tom Brady, and they don't watch sports in general, that is no. You're allowed to have your opinions, but it's inaccurate. It's simply inaccurate. And as far as what I'm doing, you are completely missing the point of what I'm doing. So I'm glad you're enjoying it enough to hang out. I really do appreciate your time and your contributions. You know, we are allowed to disagree here. We have to disagree because we talk about the real shit. But no. You completely the entire point of the last 3 hours has gone right over your head. Zibby said, I gave up on wrestling in the late 80s when Sergeant Slaughter switched sides to the Arabs. It was a bit too much. Yup.
Maybe a certain reputation, and they realized that when they got in that locker room, I can't make bad decisions here. There's no room.
When I get in that locker room, I can't make bad decisions here. Why is America not? Why doesn't America have that same culture as that locker room? Now, obviously, there's a lot less people, but we can at least try. We can at least try to get society to a place where going to bring your child to a strip club for drag queens. Oh, I can't do that. But we're not. It's the opposite. But I mean, deflated ball. So you know, whatever.
For bad decisions in this place. Now, not that we were all like angels or nothing, we weren't, but we weren't destructive to what the culture was. And those guys who were, they didn't last long, and they realized pretty quickly they didn't fit in. and they moved on somewhere else. And my view was always like, man, if you're about yourself, you may be amazing. I would love to compete against you.
Ooh, if you're all about yourself, you may be amazing, but I want to compete against you, not with you, because you're not a team player. You're not realistic and nuanced. You're just delusional or delulu.
Go play for the other team. Because when you're around a bunch of selfish people, and I've been around those, you know, guys that you win the game and they're pissed off because they didn't get the ball as much as they wanted. And you're like, there's one ball. I'm trying my best. I'm trying to do what's best for the team.
Wait, I just really need to stop and one more time. That you actually think that Tom Brady is putting air into the footballs.
What?
Do you think Metallica tunes their own guitars before they go on stage? Realistic, my asshole.
Like,
yeah,
there's a lot of other good players here. Some days it.
No, but how does that have any relevance on our disagreement? I never once denied it at all. I said, and I gave you I conceded for the sake of argument, even if we agree that he did do the PEDs. Again, Deflategate, for you to think that Tom Brady is putting air into the footballs. That's not how sports works. I don't think in the last 35 years, Tom Brady has once put air into or taken air out of a football. That is not what a star quarterback does. And then for you to take the position that it's impossible that he could have played clean. When you have nothing to go on, but just like, well, I know things. When you don't watch the sport, you don't know who he is, and that's not even what we're talking about. You say you're not getting bogged down, but you've been talking about it for the last 3 hours. I don't care about whether fucking football. I'm talking about culture. I'm talking about us. I'm talking about our lives. I'm talking about our country, our world, our society. So don't tell me you're not getting bogged down on the thing you're talking about for 3 hours that is irrelevant. It is absolutely irrelevant.
It's going to be your week. Other days it's not. But what are we in this for? We in here to pad your statistics, whether that's because we all get accolades for those, and we have, people that want to see us succeed. But in my view,
especially lately with all the protect the quarterback rules. I mean, that was a big part of why I stopped watching the sport. MMA is obviously a lot more brutal, if you want to put it that way. It's a lot more real in that way. But I think if football had stayed the same as it was when I discovered it in middle school, because my family wasn't into football. It was actually my first girlfriend that her family was huge Jets fans, which, better or worse. But it wasn't just that MMA was better. It was that football had been on a slow decline with all these rules that like nerfed the game. And like football is, imagine trying to make MMA so safe that it wasn't dangerous at all. Well, then that's not like a lot. Yeah, but you're not hung up, right? You're not hung up. Totally not hung up. Totally not bogged down. Daniel Vera says, okay, so I can't help it. No, Tom Brady does not air up or let air out of the balls. But if it's your job, you're going to notice a 2-pound difference in pressure, just like any professional cyclist will be able to tell whether or not their tires are over or underinflated. It's your job. It's not his job. That is not his job. His job is to throw the football. So even if he noticed, hey, this is kind of squishier than usual, it's still not his fucking job. You're wrong. That is not in the job description of a quarterback. That is what officials are for. That's how they found out, because they have officials who test that shit. So no, sir, it is not his job. That is wrong. Do you have any frame of reference for what a PSI is? I mean, we've only, like I said, we've only just begun. We just hit 2K. We're going to get to 2 million. So we've only just begun. So I'm frustrated, but my work is not done. I like that tactic though. Which tactic? Zippy says they can overhaul baseball rules and make it less a drag, but football is pretty simple. All the new rules since the 90s are hella dumb. Yep. Dan says the most awesome thing about football is the fact that every play is like a 10-second game of chess. Yeah, I like that a lot. But the visceral nature of it was really what attracted me to it. And so, yeah, when I'm with Zippy, like, well, all these new rules about like, oh, you can't touch the quarterback at all. You can't touch the kicker at all. Like that just, it nerfs the game. And it's not like, what is it? What do you even need a D line for? What do you need an O line for? Like, just have the quarterback, have the receivers, and have the backfield. What's even the point of that if you can't touch the quarterback? And if you can't touch the quarterback, and we're playing just like pickup ball, then it's not the same thing as NFL football. This is the tactics? I don't know what you mean. You like that tactics, the NFL set plays. I don't know what you mean.
The team's success was always most important. And I think the great reward in my life is not the record that you would read off before I came on stage. What you said was your teammates loved you.
How long ago did he say that? How long ago did PBD talk about that? And all of this that he's been saying since then has been working towards the value that he sees in building relationships with people to build a culture. If you think that's a stupid message because of 2 PSI, then I don't think I can help you. Oh, so like the NFL plays are like chess. Yeah, I love that. It's really cool. I just wish that, because again, MMA is like 3 games of chess, 3 5-minute games of chess. But it's a lot more brutal. So I dig it.
That's the greatest reward I could ever have.
I'm telling you, when we had the guys there when we had the guys there at Foxborough, and
guys in the replay, if you are watching the replay and you are just as vexed as I am with the chat right now, please say something. Please say something. You guys are the only reason I'm still going, because clearly they are not appreciating what's going on here. So I'm going for the replay gang right now. So there has to be people out there who can hate the fact that he may have cheated and hate the fact that the Deflategate happened, but can still understand the value of having a long form conversation with Tom Brady or somebody like Tom Brady. Please, because I'm going crazy here.
And for me, sometimes if you want to learn about me, ask the people that work with me. You're going to learn more. If I want to learn about you, of course I can do an interview with you and you'll give the answers you'll give, and you're maybe not wanting to offend anybody, so you kind of now at a different phase of your life. But if I talk to your teammates, they're going to be like, no, man, listen, here's how it was, here's this. Everybody talked very highly of you. But let's stay on this. So, driver for you, what drove you more? Because you just said something. If you're selfish, hey, man, congratulations on you being great. I cannot wait to compete against you, right? Straight up to your face. Okay. What drove you more? Did words of what other people said about you in the paper, media drive you, kind of like Ted Williams was driven by that? Did, hey, Tom Brady is done, Max Kellerman, every freaking season, now he's done. Is it more Peyton Manning's the better quarterback between the two? And it's just going to, like, Joe Montana just yesterday said, well, the greatest quarterback of all time is Dan Marino. We all know that. It's not me. It's not Joe. It's Tom. Okay.
All of these things, I remember this part. So all of these things that PBD is listing of why Tom Brady has this drive to continue improving, getting better, and competing at the highest level he can. Why? Being better than Peyton Manning, getting more rings than Belichick or Michael, or any of these things would be absolutely valid drivers. But I think the fact that he's about to say what he's about to say is what separates him from most other athletes.
Okay. Did that drive you? Is it more you know, the people who left you, they're like, hey man, I mean, it's great, it's been a great run, but I'm gonna go play with XYZ team, I'm gonna go play with XYZ. You think that guy's a better teammate to go? Or is it people from other sports that they're like, hey man, the greatest of all time, the GOAT. I mean, listen, everybody says he's the MJ, he's the Jordan of this, he's the Jordan of this. And why are they saying he's the Jordan? Why don't they say he's the Brady of this? He's the Brady. I want to change. And I don't know if you're going to be, you know, fully comfortable to serve, because some of these guys are your relationship, your friends. Which one drove you the most behind closed doors?
Who can guess what he's going to say? Who can guess what he's going to say? If you've been paying attention and if you've been understanding the point of what I'm doing here, this should be very, very, very easy for you to answer. What do you think he is going to say to this? What do you think is going to be his main driver? And why do you think I care?
I think that the point is like the attachment of someone else's thoughts about me they did 1%. And here I was a little bit older, but I was still pretty decent as a player. And I was like, all right, free agency's coming. And I called my agent and I was like, all right, what's the deal? Like, what do we think? And he went off a list of teams, right? And there was probably like 7 or 8 teams. And in my mind, I'm like, 7 or 8 teams? Like, there should be like 20 teams. Like, you're telling me there's like that many better quarterbacks than me? And obviously the situations fit certain ways, but it came down to like there was a couple teams that like you can be motivated by
more than 1%.
But I'm saying you could be motivated by a newspaper article or a talk show debate or by people saying Peyton Manning is better. Like, but at the end of the day, I don't think that motivates you every day. I just
doesn't motivate you every day. So what does? What motivates Tom Brady every day? And Ronaldo, did Ronaldo ever get popped for anything? Did Messi get popped for anything? Because Tom Brady didn't. But I'm just asking. What do we listen to these names for?
I don't think you wake up every day super motivated to go read the newspaper. I think you wake up every day and hopefully you can look at yourself and say, did I give it my best? Was that my best? Did I give it everything I could? Did the people around me get as much as I could? And if the answer is no, that's okay. Like, that's okay. Like, but just at least you know it.
Not one of you could guess that that's where he was going? What have you been doing for the last 3 hours?
But don't think that, like, you know, that you're going to have a lot of success if all you do is care about yourself. You don't work that hard. No one's that accountable. Look, I was on a team that was last year in Tampa. It was tough. When I see a defense sack the quarterback and every D lineman runs up to the guy who sacks the quarterback and they do a group celebration, I go, oh, I don't want to play against those guys. Yep. But then I see one guy sack the quarterback and he's got his 9th celebration and, you know, and none of his teammates celebrate with him. I'm like, well, he's in it for himself. You know, that's not going to go well over a period of time. So these are just things you guys can see now, you know, with just a little awareness, like who are the dangerous companies? Who are the dangerous, you know, teams and competition that you guys are facing?
The dangerous competition that we are facing is the people who want to push all the bullshit that we hate on you, your children, and their children to come. That is who we are in competition against. Despite the fact that we seem to be on different pages with Tom Brady here, I still hope that we're on the same team in terms of moving America forward and where we want it to go. I sure hope. Because that's what really matters. Let's not forget that.
When you guys succeed, is it all about that person? Is it about the team success? I always felt like the quarterback's job is when it doesn't go well, you take the blame. When it goes well, you give the credit. That's what great leaders do. You know, you always...
hey, at least Dan is consistent. All right, we like consistency here.
That's how it should be in all those sports.
By the way, Sam, Kelly, Mario, can one of you guys find my phone and bring it to me? I don't have the time, so I don't know what time it is. One of you guys can find my phone. Tom,
It's 11:09 p.m.
Question: have you watched the movie The Last Dance? Have you watched the documentary Last Dance?
Put a 1 in the chat if you have not seen The Last Dance. Holy mother.
Loved it. So a couple questions for you. One, the moment with Isaiah and Jordan, okay? And I see you as a guy that you kind of maybe you watched the
Oh, bro. The Last Dance is, I think it's 6-part miniseries on Michael Jordan and another guy who was probably not somebody you'd like to be friends with, but is also a great man that you can learn a lot from if you have access to Netflix. Or if you are willing to pirate, which I am not saying that anybody should do. The Last Dance is a fantastic documentary. And again, because of the culture around Michael Jordan, I don't know if I said that. It was about Michael Jordan. That might have slipped me, but it's about Michael Jordan's career. Because of the culture around who Michael Jordan was, and the fact that we had much more homogenized culture where there was only a few channels, so it's not like everybody was in this tiny community. Like everybody knew, everybody was watching, everyone wanted to be like Mike. You need to go and watch that immediately. Shout out to Archangel. Welcome to the party, brothers. Thank you so much for the toothcase. Yes, very, very, very much appreciated. You were one of the first, definitely for everybody here. Well, everybody put Archangel in the chat because he was here before all of you. Welcome, buddy. Welcome. I also cannot wait for that bad boy to say 1 million. And it's going to happen. Like I said, 2K now, but we have only just begun. And if anything, tonight's stream has really shown me that all of my work is ahead of me. Bonsig said, I watched Space Jam. That's a good start. That's a good start. But seriously, it's so, I mean, I don't know. If you can't inherently understand the value of somebody who can accomplish great things, great success, have a lot of influence, then I don't know how to instill in you that certain people have ways of doing things, and you don't have to be exactly like them, but if you just understand why they are the person that they are, then your life is going to be a lot better.
Competition and everybody else compete. I've seen your shot, your turnaround shot. You got a good game as well. You're an athlete. You're a guy that kind of follows.
Are you just trolling? Are you trolling now? Come on.
Along with what's going on everywhere. The moment of Isaiah not shaking his hand when they lost, and they walk off, Bill Lambier, and Michael's like, "You kidding me? I lost to you last year, humiliated. I came and shook all your hands one by one, and I said, hey, go win the championship. I go in the gym, come back, train, we beat you. You don't want to even give me that respect? No problem." And Michael was a grudge guy.
Yeah.
Okay. And then Dream Team.
Maybe if they're not in your orbit, and you're watching a show about somebody who's talking about them, probably good idea to perk up and see what's good, right?
Team, boom, doesn't let him get back on the team. And well, it was never Michael. It was never this. Okay. Well, it was Michael, let's just say. And then come to the celebration that happened last year or a few months ago where all the top 75 NBA players are there. And there's this one scene that's gone viral on TikTok. And I don't know if you know which one.
I haven't seen it, no.
There's one scene that's gone viral. It's freaking hilarious.
Yeah.
Where you see Magic is there shaking hands with Isaiah. And Michael standing behind Magic. Okay. And Magic's like, yeah, all this stuff. And then
how do you know that if they're not in your orbit? We're making more claims of things that you don't know. I mean, yeah, I would love to hear what Lewis Hamilton has to say. I think there's probably a great deal that I could learn and appreciate about the specifics of being the best F1 driver in the world. But according to the people that I know that watch Formula One, he's an asshole. That's just what I heard. So if we're throwing great people's opinions and words out the door just because they're not perfect, then I mean.
And Isaiah walks off, and you see Michael comes, and he whispers something in Magic's ear, and this is within seconds after he talks to Isaiah, and they are both laughing so hard.
Yeah.
Right now, couple trolls added additional sound to say what would have been said. I'm gonna show you afterwards. It's unbelievably funny.
Yeah.
Did you in your career ever have an Isaiah Thomas?
So again, for those of you who are not familiar, basically there was a big championship game. Michael Jordan was playing against Isaiah Thomas, the teams, and Jordan lost, and they shook hands. Then the next year, I don't know if it was the next year, but a couple years, whatever, the same team played again in the championship, and now Michael Jordan won, and then Isaiah Thomas kind of snubbed him in the handshake. And as we know, Michael Jordan likes to keep a grudge.
I could hold a grudge as good as any of them out there. Actually, that was good aspects of I would say the motivation. Like, it's very different. Like, I didn't have any friends on the other teams. I didn't, and I think it's a little different day and age.
Interesting.
Yeah, I didn't. I
Even
was
ex-teammates that left?
well, yeah, to a degree, but
Okay.
I mean, my friends were the guys that were in the battle with me. So
Sick.
it's very different in today's age, which I actually think is a little, you've got to create a lot of different emotion to heighten your sense of awareness and focus. Like for me, anger was good. Anger was good because it was motivating. The more I could create an enemy, the more I wanted to go out and kill those guys. Now, I knew I wasn't going to kill them physically.
Hell yeah.
But man, if I could just, what did they say?
And so now we're talking about how to control your emotions, how to use your emotions for you instead of having them used against you. I like if you don't see value in these messages, then I bid you, I mean, cheers. But I think hearing these things that can be very fundamental and very simple, echoed by the people at the top of the food chain, I find value in it.
And what did they look like? And did they disrespect me at all? And did that asshole say something? Like, those are little things that can get me right in the emotional frame of mind that when I ran on the field and I said, let's fucking go. It was really, let's go kick some ass. That's what we were doing. So,
and that is what I want from you guys when it comes to the topics of when we talk about politics, when we all agree that this is terrible for society, that is terrible for society. That not to delude yourself, but to be aware of how and why they are bad so that we can coalesce around what we should do about it. That is what we're talking about. That is why we're doing this. That is why we're watching this.
There wasn't a lot of smiley faces with me out there. There wasn't a lot of smiley faces with Michael Jordan. There weren't a lot of smiley faces with Kobe Bryant. There weren't a lot of smiley faces with Tiger Woods, right?
Wait. Tiger Woods is a cheater, so he's greatness is not available to him.
Tiger wasn't trying to be friends with anybody. Tiger had no friends. Tiger's friends were guys that he knew he could kick their butt. Those were Tiger's friends. And they were very happy to have their butts kicked by Tiger Woods to be his friend.
I would be too.
Tiger had him right where he wanted him. And I think for me, like, even when I watch sports today and I see, like, golf's a good example. I see these guys on the range.
Yeah.
So when is he going to pay Logan Paul then? Because that fraud is certainly. Oh wait, didn't he also get convicted of rape? We're going to talk about Money Mayweather and say that we can't listen to Tom Brady? What are you talking about? What are you talking about? I don't know. I guess. All right. Well, Replay Gang, I apologize that, I don't want to get triggered and I don't want to, waste anybody's time. I don't want to waste anybody's time. So clearly, this does not have as much value as to everybody else as it did to me. So thank you guys for hanging out. I hope you at least enjoyed the back and forth. And yeah, I guess we'll just go back to having the same old conversation over and over and over and over again. Peace out.